Chapter 206. 200 million gold coins. The mysterious man said directly. Right now Yang Dingtian could see that this Madame Qin and this mysterious man were here specifically for this transformation elixir. Therefore, when they increased the price, the two of them didn't hesitate or feel any heartache. As long as they got the transformation pill, they didn't care how much money they had to spend. The mysterious man directly bid 200 million gold coins. This was an astronomical figure. In fact, if they really wanted to take out 200 million gold coins, Cloud Sky City wouldn't be able to take it out even if they had all the gold coins. All the physical gold coins in Cloud Sky City, including the purple crystal demon coins, wouldn't exceed 100 million. And all the cash in Cloud Sky City, including the crystal currency cards, wouldn't exceed 1 billion. One had to know that Cloud Sky City was the overlord of 1,000 miles of territory, and they didn't have more than 1 billion. Now this mysterious man spent 200 million just to buy a transformation pill. Obviously, Madame Qin didn't expect this to happen. She originally thought that no one would compete with her for this transformation pill. Therefore, she spent a lot of money to buy other things. But she didn't expect that there would be another person at this auction who was determined to get this transformation pill. Suddenly, the door of private room number 1 opened. Then, a stunningly beautiful woman slowly walked out. Suddenly, the entire auction hall lit up, and everyone's eyes lit up. She was Madame Qin. She shouldn't be more than 30 years old. In terms of beauty, she was almost no less than Madame Ximen. But in terms of charm, she was the most charming woman Yang Dingtian had ever seen. Her entire body, every gaze, every movement was filled with a unique charm. This was a femme fatale. Whether it was beauty or figure, Sume was one in a million and dazzling. But after Madame Qin walked out, Sume's light dimmed. This happy person was comparable to the nine-tailed demon fox. However, the bad woman aura on her body was even stronger. Sir, give this transformation pill to me, and Northwest Qin City will owe you a favor. How about it? Madame Qin looked at private room number 1 and said. After saying that, Madame Qin said, 200 million and 100,000 gold coins. Perhaps, this was the largest amount of money Madame Qin had. The door to room 100 was still closed. The mysterious man said in a hoarse voice, I'm sorry, madam. I really need this. 232. 5 million gold coins. The mysterious man made his final offer. There were zeros and rounds. This should be all the money he had. Both of them had given their all. However, from the looks of it, this mysterious man was slightly superior. Madame Qin suddenly gritted her teeth and said, 210 million gold coins, plus a potential 8th grade beast soul pill, the Sky Devil Flame Saber, and the Sky Spirit Profound Wings. Instantly, everyone exclaimed in shock. Yang Dingtian was also completely stunned. This world had gone completely mad. Everyone present was about to go crazy. Sume at this time completely disregarded her image and showed a dumbfounded expression. This scene was completely beyond her imagination. Madame Qin's bid was close to 400 million gold coins. This price was truly an astronomical figure. Even a tycoon might not have seen so much money in his life. She was actually willing to offer 400 million gold coins for the transformation pill that she originally thought no one would want. Yang Dingtian was truly unable to imagine what exactly made her so determined to get this transformation pill. After Madame Qin made her final crazy bid, everyone was silent. Sume also took a while to react. Then she raised the hammer and was about to smash it down. There was already no suspense. That mysterious man's bid just now had already reached the limit. It couldn't be any higher. This transformation pill definitely belonged to Madame Qin. This way, Yang Dingtian could obtain 200 million gold coins, and also get the potential 8th grade beast soul pill, and the Sky Devil Flame Saber. Just now, he was still regretting that he didn't fight for the Sky Devil Flame Saber. Now it actually delivered itself to his doorstep. This world was really too crazy. Now Yang Dingtian was completely determined to get the 8th grade Devil Flame Saber art. His current financial resources were completely not inferior to sect leader Beigong and young Lord Yi. Just when everyone thought that Madame Qin's bid was unshakable, That mysterious man in room 100 spoke again. 250 million gold coins, and a dragon dances the 9 heavens scroll. Ah! Instantly, everyone present exclaimed in shock. They all revealed looks of disbelief. Even his master Dongfang Minmi also let out a low exclamation. How is that possible? Young Dingtian was puzzled. Master, what is this dragon dance 9th heaven scroll? Is it very powerful? Dongfang Minmi said. It's a flying mystic skill scroll. After learning it, you don't need to ride a beast and can directly fly. Instantly young Dingtian was also astonished. It was actually a flying scroll, an extremely rare flying scroll in this world. Of course, to Duge Feng and Dongfang Bingling, this flying scroll wasn't very useful, because with their mystic qi cultivation they could fly in the air. But to martial artists below the martial ancestor level, this flying scroll was too precious. After learning this scroll, it meant that after leaving the territory, they didn't need to ride a horse and could directly fly in the air. Of course, when they reached various checkpoints, they still had to walk on the ground. In short, the attraction of this flying scroll to young Dingtian was completely unparalleled. However, the Sky Devil Flame Saber over there was also worth having. After complementing it with the 8th grade Devil Flame Saber technique, its power was completely limitless. It was a true explosive increase in killing power. After all, the flying scroll was only for convenience. Sume also fell into a dilemma. Sorry, I really can't calculate the price of the two, so I can only leave the decision to the owner of the transformation elixir. Both of you, please wait a moment. Then the entire auction hall suddenly darkened, and all the light completely disappeared. Not long later, young Dingtian felt the door of his box open, and then a fragrant wind blew in. Sume's lively and fragrant body approached young Dingtian. Her small mouth moved to young Dingtian's ear and said, Mr. Shun, you have to make a choice. Yes, he had to make a choice. Young Dingtian wanted the Sky Devil Flame Saber. Young Dingtian also wanted the Dragon Dance 9 Heavens Flying Scroll. Child, it's all up to you. Dongfang Minmi laughed in young Dingtian's mind. Young Dingtian took a deep breath and made his final choice. I choose the Dragon Dance 9 Heavens Flying Scroll, young Dingtian said. Yes, Sume whispered, and there was a slight surprise in her voice. She thought that young Dingtian would choose the Sky Devil Flame Saber. After all, the flying scroll was only for convenience. The Sky Devil Flame Saber could make him very powerful. Young Dingtian thought that this flying scroll could save young Dingtian a lot of time on the road. To young Dingtian, time was the most precious thing. Next, he had to sneak into the Northwest Qing clan and find a way to get the other half of the map of the Heaven and Earth Obsidian Flame. Of course, this was difficult. Even if he succeeded, he had to do a lot of things. Even after getting the map, he had to go to the Foxman race, which was tens of thousands of miles away, translate the words on the map, and confirm the location of the Heaven and Earth Mystic Flame. The location of the Heaven and Earth Mystic Flame was most likely at the end of the world. Maybe he had to travel tens of thousands of miles again. So to young Dingtian, time was the most precious thing. As for the power brought by the Sky Devil Flame Saber, it might only be a few months. Young Dingtian's real weapon, the weapon that accompanied him for life, was still the Soul Sword, the current Cho Youngling sword. I want the flying scroll, young Dingtian said. Okay, Sume said sweetly. Immediately after, young Dingtian suddenly felt his ear warm. It was Sume who was very close to his ear. Then the woman's voice sounded in his ear. Mr. Shun, are you married? If not, what do you think of me? Instinctively, young Dingtian wanted to sit upright and push her away. However, he suddenly remembered that he was now playing the role of a wanderer, not a gentleman. Not yet. If Miss Su agrees, how about I go and propose marriage tonight? Young Dingtian teased. Then his right hand directly hugged her waist. You think I will believe your words? As expected, the woman gently twisted and dodged young Dingtian's hand. A fragrant wind blew away. Sume left young Dingtian's private room. Another woman who was good at acting. A few minutes after Sume left young Dingtian's private room, she returned to the booth again. Then, the entire hall suddenly brightened up. The owner of the transformation elixir has accepted the offer of the 100th VIP. Sumei announced. Does anyone else have a new offer? After hearing this news, the beautiful Madame Qin's beautiful eyes trembled slightly. Then she revealed a charming smile, as if nothing had happened. She directly returned to her private room. Immediately after, someone delivered a stack of crystal cards to young Dingtian, and a purple spirit fantasy scroll. However, this time, the person who delivered the items was a delicate and pretty girl, not Sumei herself. It seemed that this girl was afraid of being taken advantage of again, after entering young Dingtian's private room. This was the flying scroll, a mysterious flying scroll with a sky-high price. Young Dingtian held the Dragon Dance 9th Heaven Profound Skill Scroll in his hand. It was as light as a feather, and it felt like it could fly away at any time. Other than that, this scroll didn't have any other surprises. Then he looked at the thick stack of crystal cards. Every one of them was a shocking amount. Note: brothers begging for votes, begging for support. Chapter 207. And young Dingtian found that these crystal cards were different from the ones before. These crystal cards were all made of purple gold crystal, and the material itself was extremely expensive. The decoration and carvings on the crystal cards with the largest amount turned out to be the two most expensive ores in the world: bloody black gold and mysterious ice jade crystal gold. Mysterious ice jade crystal gold was the material used by ice-type martial artists to forge soul swords. The sword in Dongfang Bingling's hand was made of mysterious ice jade crystal gold. To a large extent, mysterious ice jade crystal gold was more difficult to collect than bloody black gold, because it was mostly at the bottom of the ice sea in the extreme north. Then the dragon's dancing stripes in the card were also completely moving. Young Dingtian had heard that this type of crystal card with the largest denomination required 3 great master class experts, or 10 master class experts, to input their mystic chi at the same time to carry out the final process. Therefore, only the Tiando League had the ability to do this. Therefore, this kind of crystal card could be said to be completely impossible to counterfeit. However, holding these crystal cards in his hand, young Dingtian was already full of unreal feelings. This world was really crazy. Ordinary serfs could only earn a few gold coins after working hard for a year. A wandering martial artist risking his life could only earn thousands of gold coins a year at most. But here, there were hundreds of millions of gold coins flowing. However, in this world, money was almost the most useless thing. For forces like Northwest Qin City and Yinyang School, this money was even issued by them, and they could have as much as they wanted. Power was the eternal theme of this world. Soon, it was time for the second last auction item. This was the demon core of a 1,000-year-old frost sea demon, and the starting price was 30 million. At the same time, this was also a priceless treasure. How high was its value? Thinking about the demon core of the mysterious fire Kailan that Zhao Wuji used to forge soul swords, the two were almost the same. It was just that one was of the fire element, and the other was of the ice element. Just seeing that it was the second last auction item, which was more valuable than Yang Dingtian's transformation elixir, one could tell how precious it was. However, the transformation pill just now seemed to have overdrawn everyone's passion. Furthermore, the passion of many of the people present was for the final battle, the rank 8 demonic flame saber art. Therefore, the competition for this priceless demon core was actually not very fierce. However, although this item was very precious, Yang Dingtian had no use for it, so he did not participate in the auction. Yang Dingtian didn't make a move. Madame Qin, young Lord Yi, Chief Beigong, and the mysterious number 100 didn't make a move either. These people were the most important people in this auction. These people didn't make a move, so the price couldn't go up at all. Therefore, in the end, this priceless demon core was bought by a young girl with a cold voice for a price of 80 million. In the end, when Sumei's hammer fell to the ground, she, who was as cold as ice, couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. This young lady was in the 9th private room. Her face was covered by a veil, so her appearance couldn't be seen clearly. However, her figure was very slim, just like a willow. Next up is the last auction item, which is also the finale of this auction, the rank 8 demonic flame saber art. As soon as Su Mei's voice fell, someone immediately presented a jade box. After opening it, a domineering aura instantly rushed out from within. Instantly, everyone present stood up abruptly. All of their gazes were focused on this rank 8 demonic flame saber art secret manual. This scroll was actually blood red in color. It was a dazzling blood red color. On top of it, there were sharp saber patterns that were golden in color. As expected, it was in rank 8 mystic saber art. It looked very awe-inspiring. At this moment, Yang Dingtian already smelled a strong smell of gunpowder. The most intense competition was about to arrive. Yang Dingtian even saw that young Lord Yi had already walked out of the private room with a burning gaze. As for Chief Beigong, he directly moved his chair to the door of the private room. Half of his body was inside, and the other half was outside. Madame Qin's number 1 private room was actually a very comfortable and luxurious jade couch. At this moment, she asked someone to move it out. Then, she lazily laid down on the jade couch, causing her delicate body to appear even more like a mountain, up and down. Yang Dingtian clearly felt that the temperature in the hall was rising. Almost all the men's heartbeats were speeding up. Even Su Mei, who was the host, couldn't help but reveal a trace of jealousy in her beautiful eyes. This Mrs. Qin was really a maverick and unconventional person. The peak of the auction was about to arrive. Madame Qin, young Lord Yi, Chief Beigong, and Yang Dingtian were going to have the final competition and battle for the rank 8 demonic flame saber art. However, the 3 of them were in the open, while Yang Dingtian was in the dark. Rank 8 mystic skill, demonic flame saber art. The starting price is 50 million gold coins. Interested parties can make their bids. After Su Mei finished speaking, her beautiful eyes couldn't help but glance at Yang Dingtian. Her eyes were filled with a teasing glow. This was a vixen. After Su Mei finished speaking, no one made a bid. Because this was the final fierce battle, the 3 bosses weren't in a hurry to make their bids. As for the others, they were basically here to watch the show. After more than 10 seconds, no one actually made a bid first. 50 million and 1 gold coins. Suddenly, a teasing voice came from beside Yang Dingtian. Without a doubt, he was here to be a bystander. He was prepared to watch the show, but it didn't start for a long time. Hence he lightly provoked. 100 million gold coins. Young Lord Yi wasn't provoked as expected. He directly shouted out a sky-high price of 100 million gold coins. His eyes were filled with disdain and arrogance. His meaning was very clear. This final competition was between the 3 of them, Mr. Perfect, and Ms. Perfect. Losers like you can just sit and watch the show. You aren't qualified to participate. Of course, he didn't expect that there was a hidden secret boss, Yang Dingtian, among the crowd. As expected, after young Lord Yi shouted out 100 million gold coins, he drew a line. The others weren't even qualified to join in the fun. 150 million. Chief Beigong said. 160 million. Young Lord Yi said. 170 million. Chief Beigong said. 190 million. Young Lord Yi yelled. Instantly, Chief Beigong took a deep breath. His body that was exposed outside the private room slowly retreated. He didn't continue to bid. It was as if his entire net worth didn't exceed 190 million. Young Lord Yi instantly revealed a complacent expression after getting rid of a strong competitor. He then looked at Madame Qin with a challenging gaze. His gaze even had a trace of lust and passion. It was very clear how much money Madame Qin had. 200 million was just a small change. She was originally here for the transformation elixir, but she failed. This 8th grade devil flame saber art was also useless to her. It was up to her if she was willing to spend this money to cause trouble for young Lord Yi. Previously, she had spent tens of millions just to create trouble for this young Lord Yi. But now this price was simply too high. 200 million. Madame Qin said lazily. She really made a move just to cause trouble for young Lord Yi. It seemed like this Ms. Perfect was really bored to the extreme, and came here to find excitement. Young Lord Yi had already expected it. He sneered and said, 210 million. Then, his gaze was filled with provocation as he looked at Madame Qin. This was because all the money Madame Qin had was only this 200 million. 240 million. Madame Qin said indifferently. Young Lord Ye's expression instantly changed. He said coldly, "Do you have so much money? Don't think that you can casually bid just because you are the city lord's wife." Young Dingtian was startled. He didn't expect this Madame Qin to be the wife of the West Prefecture city lord. No wonder she was in the #1 private room. She was indeed extremely influential. Or rather, the Northwest Qin city was indeed extremely influential. The Northwest continent's West Prefecture city was also under their control. Hearing young Lord Ye's question, Madame Qin said indifferently, "I will bid the potential 8th grade beast soul elixir together, with a 50% discount of 40 million. Can't I do that?" Of course. However, she had to conduct a complicated evaluation. After all, this 8th grade beast soul elixir was bid by Madame Qin herself. If she were to sell it again, it might not be able to fetch such a price. Madame Qin didn't want to go through the trouble of evaluating it, so she directly reduced the price by 50%. Furthermore, this 8th grade beast soul elixir's market price should be around 50 million. It was reasonable to discount the price to 40 million. 240 million. After Madame Qin shouted out this astronomical price, everyone instantly looked towards young Lord Yi. The real show was finally about to begin. A top-notch fair, rich and beautiful woman against a top-notch tall, rich and handsome man. In terms of authority, even though young Lord Yi was a little fearful of Madame Qin, he still had a huge backer. Furthermore, this young Lord Yi seemed to only have slightly more than 200 million. 250 million. Young Lord Yi said with a cold voice. Everyone was instantly astonished, as they didn't expect this young Lord Yi to actually prepare 250 million. 290 million. Madame Qin sat up from the couch and said delicately. Young Lord Ye's expression changed drastically as he spoke with a trembling voice. "Madame Shiman, are you really going to challenge my White Cloud City to the end? Aren't you afraid of offending the Mystic Heaven sect?" Madame Qin lay down again and said delicately, "What childish words. Buying things is just buying things. What does it have to do with offending the Mystic Heaven sect?" Her voice was truly soul-stirring. After hearing it, one's body would go soft and only have a fiery and hard feeling. Young Lord Yi was so angry that he laughed and suddenly drew his sharp sword. Everyone was shocked. What was he trying to do? Could it be that he couldn't compete and wanted to use force? This was the Tiando League's auction house, and the woman opposite him was the younger sister of the Northwest Emperor, Qin Wanchou, and the wife of the West Prefecture city lord. Young Lord Yi might have the Mystic Heaven sect as his backer, but if he dared to make a move here, he would be courting death. In an instant, a powerful aura suddenly spread throughout the entire auction hall, causing everyone to feel suffocated. Without a doubt, this was a warning from a master-class expert. Every large-scale auction would have at least 2 master-class experts to hold down the fort. 300 million gold coins. Young Lord Yi aimed at the stairs in front and slashed down with his sword, instantly shattering the white jade stairs into pieces. He then used his loudest voice to shout out a sky-high price of 300 million note, requesting for a few monthly votes. Chapter 208. Everyone present was shocked. 300 million? The bid had actually reached 300 million. The transformation elixir was extremely rare. For those who truly needed it, they might even go bankrupt to obtain it. As for the 8th grade Devil Flame Saber art, it had a clear value, which was around 100 million gold coins. Now it had actually doubled and reached a sky-high price of 300 million. After the bid, young Lord Yi saw everyone's shocked eyes and instantly laughed out loud. 300 million gold coins. Madame Qin, are you still going to raise the price? Madame Qin's beautiful and enchanting face was slightly cold as she questioned. Do you have the money? I have checked. And you only have less than 260 million gold coins. Ha ha ha. Young Lord Yi instantly laughed wildly and said, That's right. I only have less than 260 million gold coins. However, that 1,000-year Frost Sea Demon's demon core was mine, and it was sold for 50 million gold coins. In total, I have more than 300 million gold coins. Once these words were spoken, everyone suddenly realized. Instantly, everyone looked at young Lord Yi with admiring eyes. The White Cloud City was indeed a wealthy city. Immediately after, young Lord Yi looked at Madame Qin and said proudly, "Madame Qin, are you still going to raise the price?" Madame Qin's expression turned cold as she left immediately. Women were indeed women. After losing the bid, they immediately left in a fit of anger. Looking at her swaying back view leaving, all the men present couldn't help but feel disappointed. Looking at Madame Qin's back view, young Lord Ye's eyes were filled with greed. Until Madame Qin's back view completely disappeared, young Lord Yi reluctantly withdrew his gaze from her back view and said to Su Mei on the stage, "All right, don't play around. Announce it directly." Su Mei said, "For the 8th grade Devil Flame Saber art, young Lord Yi has bid 300 million gold coins. Is there a higher bid?" "Stop dreaming." Young Lord Yi laughed wantonly and said, "I have never failed to get what I want. Hurry up and drop the hammer." Instantly, young Lord Yi looked around ostentatiously and enjoyed the limitless jealous gazes of everyone. Yang Dingtian couldn't help but say in his heart, "Master, if I were to instantly outbid this young Lord Yi, would he wish to kill me?" Dongfang Minmi said, "That goes without saying. His hatred for you will be 10 times, no, 100 times greater than Mrs. Qin's." 8th grade Devil Flame Saber art. Young Lord Yi bids 300 million gold coins. Is there a higher bid? Su Mei continued, "I will start counting down from 3. If no one bids, then the 8th grade Devil Flame Saber art will belong to young Lord Yi. 3, 2. At this point, Su Mei finally couldn't hold it in any longer. She rolled her eyes angrily at Yang Dingtian. "Haha." Young Master Yi laughed wildly and said, "This secret manual is mine. Su Mei, you sly fox, listen to me. You're mine." 310 million. Yang Dingtian calmly shouted. Suddenly it was earth-shattering. Suddenly, there was a deathly silence. Young Lord Ye's insolent laughter stopped abruptly. Everyone looked at room 50 in disbelief. They had always thought that the private room was empty. Who would have thought that there would be such a huge boss hidden here? 310 million gold coins. Even if it was one of the 27 sects, it would be hard to take out such a sum. They originally thought that young Lord Yi and Mrs. Qin were the biggest boss. Who would have thought that this mysterious room 50 would be the final boss? After the shock, young Lord Yi stared at Yang Dingtian's private room and said coldly, 310 million gold coins. Do you have the money? Before Yang Dingtian could say anything, Su Mei said indifferently, "He has it. We have checked." Young Lord Ye's face instantly became distorted and sinister. He looked at Yang Dingtian's private room and said coldly, "Friend, are you sure you want to snatch it from me?" His words were filled with threats and coldness. Yang Dingtian remained silent and clearly expressed his intention. "Are you really not afraid of offending my White Cloud City?" Young Lord Yi said coldly and actually directly issued a threat. Su Mei's face turned cold as she said coldly, "Young Lord Yi, please take note. This is the Tiando League's auction house." "I know." Young Lord Yi said coldly. "My White Cloud City is ranked second in the Tiando League's Northwest branch. How can I not know?" Immediately after, young Lord Ye's eyes turned even colder as he said, "Friend, I will ask you one last time. Are you going to snatch this 8th grade Devil Flame Saber art from me?" Yang Dingtian said indifferently, "This is an auction house. Everyone speaks with gold coins." All right. Young Lord Yi laughed heartily. He then kicked the private room's door and left furiously. Su Mei raised her hammer and said, "Is there anyone who bids more than 310 million gold coins for the 8th grade Devil Flame Saber art?" Then, Su Mei started to count down. 3, 2, 1. The 8th grade Devil Flame Saber art belongs to VIP room 50. This auction has officially ended. Everyone present didn't leave. They were waiting for Yang Dingtian's private room to open. They wanted to see what kind of person actually snatched the 8th grade Devil Flame Saber art from the White Cloud City's young lord and the West Prefecture City Lord's wife. However, Yang Dingtian didn't have any intention to come out. Moreover, he was very curious about the mysterious man in room 100 and wanted to see his true face. However, room 100 didn't have any intention to open the door either. At this moment, the auction hall suddenly turned dark. It was so dark that one couldn't even see their own fingers. Everyone instantly let out a disappointed sound. It was obvious that young Ding Tian and the mysterious man in room 100 weren't willing to reveal their true faces. Instantly everyone left. After a short while, the private room's door was opened and Sume walked in. "Young Master Shun, you didn't expect to get what you want today, right?" Sume said delicately. She then handed the 8th grade Devil Flame Saber art to young Ding Tian. "Yeah." Young Ding Tian sighed and grabbed the Devil Flame Saber art. Suddenly, a domineering and fiery murderous aura drilled into his hand. This 8th grade Devil Flame Saber art was indeed domineering. Today was really too crazy. There were a few twists and turns. Young Ding Tian originally didn't have any hope for this 8th grade Devil Flame Saber art. However, he didn't expect to get it in the end. Moreover, he got it at a sky-high price of 310 million. However, I also offended 2 people that I can't afford to offend. Young Ding Tian sighed. One was young Lord Yi, and the other was Madame Qin. In this West Prefecture city, these 2 people were extremely powerful. "No, you only offended one." Sume laughed delicately and said, "Young Lord Yi definitely won't let it go. After I leave the auction house, will he make a move on me?" Sume twisted her waist and avoided young Ding Tian's big hand. She said delicately, "You are staying in our auction house's VIP building. He won't dare to make a move on you. However, once you leave, he will definitely make a move. He has a lot of power in West Prefecture City. The only thing that he is afraid of is the Northwest Qin clan. Therefore, for the sake of your life, you should stay in the auction house for the rest of your life. That bastard Yi also has his eyes on me. As long as I leave the auction house, I will definitely be harmed by him. Both of us won't be able to leave." "What is this young Lord Yi's cultivation?" Young Ding Tian asked. "At least a 9-star martial mystic," Sume said. Young Ding Tian's eyes suddenly shrunk. This young Lord Yi was at most 28 years old. A 9-star martial mystic was already very strong. He was 1 stage and 14 levels higher than himself. With Yang Ding Tian's current strength, he couldn't use Ah Chao's Youngling Sword or Devil Sky Split. He couldn't even use the pig-slaying swordsmanship. It was really impossible to defeat a 9-star martial mystic expert. Then, Yang Ding Tian pretended to be pitiful and said, "Do I really have to hide in the auction house for the rest of my life?" Sume giggled and said, "Don't worry. You just have to hide for 10 days to half a month. At most half a month, that bastard Yi will leave for the Northwest Qin city." "Why is he going to the Qin city?" Yang Ding Tian said in surprise. "To give betrothal gifts to his fiancée, the Northwest Qin clan's 4th young mistress, Qin Yuyao," Sume said. Then, with a burst of fragrance, she left the private room. After leaving the auction hall, young Ding Tian realized that young Lord Yi had indeed sent many people to surround the auction house. No matter where young Ding Tian went, there would be people watching him. Of course, they wouldn't dare to make a move in the auction house. But without a doubt, as long as he walked out of the auction house, they would kill him and snatch the secret manual. This White Cloud City's young lord was really arrogant and despotic. He had successfully obtained the 8th grade secret manual, but how to escape was still a problem. Note, begging for monthly votes, begging for support. Chapter 209. Yang Ding Tian spent more than 1 million gold coins on the materials needed for the 4th, 5th, and 6th stages of the cleansing process. As for the 7th stage of the cleansing process, Yang Ding Tian would have to wait until he broke through to the Master Realm. Furthermore, materials of that level could no longer be bought. He would have to find a special cleansing demonic pool to be able to perform the 7th and 8th stages of the cleansing process. Most of the cleansing demonic pools were formed naturally. Whether one could find one depended entirely on luck. After buying all the materials, Yang Ding Tian stayed in the auction house's VIP building. Soon, people from White Cloud City surrounded the VIP building that Yang Ding Tian was staying in. All of Yang Ding Tian's rooms were filled with people from White Cloud City. Being so brazen, it was obvious that young Lord Yi was determined to obtain the 8th grade Devil Flame Saber art. Since they hadn't made a move yet, the auction house couldn't do anything about it. Furthermore, White Cloud City was the second most powerful force in the Northwest Mainland Tiando League. Of course, they wouldn't want to offend young Lord Yi. Young Dingtian originally planned to disguise himself and sneak away. This way no one would know. However, he soon realized that this path was completely impassable. This was because he felt that there were at least 2 martial honorable realm experts locking onto his aura. This way, even if he wore a human skin mask and turned into another person, it would be useless. As long as his aura was locked onto, no matter what he turned into, he would be recognized. In an instant, Yang Dingtian was actually trapped to death here. Furthermore, with 2 martial honorable realm experts staring at him, he couldn't do anything. He could only perform normal mysterious force breathing technique. He couldn't even train his mind, because if they launched a mental attack at any time, Yang Dingtian's mind might shatter. As for the cleansing of the marrow and meridians, it was even more impossible. Cleansing of the marrow and meridians was the most dangerous thing, and had the strictest requirements for the environment. Even if there were experts guarding, they couldn't be disturbed. Even the slightest disturbance could cause one's body to explode and die. Now Yang Dingtian was surrounded by experts from White Cloud City. Furthermore, he didn't have anyone guarding him. If he were to cleanse his marrow and meridians now, he would be courting death. As for the Grade 8 Devil Flame Saber art, he could not take it out to learn it. Learning profound skill secret manuals also had to be done in the quietest environment, without any profound qi interference. If Yang Dingtian were to take out the Grade 8 Devil Flame Saber art to learn, the 2 martial honorable realm experts would only need to slightly disturb his mind and xian qi, and Yang Dingtian was guaranteed to immediately go berserk. Therefore, the cleansing of marrow and meridians, and the cultivation of profound skills, had to be carried out in the safest environment. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian was trapped in the auction house, unable to do anything. A day passed. 2 days passed. 5 days passed. Yang Dingtian was burning with anxiety. On the other side, the White Cloud City's young lord had already sent word that even if he went to the Northwest Qin City to propose marriage, he would send people to keep a close eye on Yang Dingtian. He gave Yang Dingtian 2 choices. The first was to hand over the Grade 8 Devil Flame Saber art unconditionally. The second one was dead. At this moment, Yang Dingtian truly hated the White Cloud City's young lord to the bone. Yang Dingtian had seen many vicious and merciless people. Shimen Zhu and Qin Huayu were Yang Dingtian's most vicious enemies. However, no one was as shameless and impudent as the White Cloud City's young Lord Yi. He was so brazen that after losing the auction, he actually wanted to kill and snatch the secret manual. Day after day passed. The 2 martial honorable realm experts still firmly locked onto Yang Dingtian's aura. Yang Dingtian's heart grew more and more anxious. To him, time was extremely tight. There were only 7 months left until the martial competition for the city lord's position. And Yang Dingtian was currently only a 5-star great mystic martial master. Moreover, the most important heaven and earth mystic flame had not even been set in stone yet. The other half of the map was in the Northwest Qin City. Originally, he was prepared to learn the 2nd stage of the pig-slaying sword art after cleansing the 4th level, and then the Grade 8 profound skill, Devil Flame Saber art. Then, he would think of a way to sneak into the Northwest Qin City. Compared to other forces, the Northwest Qin City was not like a sect, but more like a country. Therefore, the Qin City had been recruiting talents all these years. If the martial artists outside had enough power, they could also obtain a high position in the Northwest Qin City. Yang Dingtian originally planned to use Shun Lang's identity to sneak into the Northwest Qin City. Then, he would make use of his martial strength to quickly rise in the Qin City. It would be best if he could become the confidant of Qin Huayu and the others. Then, he would think of a way to obtain the other half of the map of the Heaven and Earth Mystic Flame. This plan was very crazy and very dangerous. However, it was also the only way. Now he was actually trapped by this bastard, young Lord Yi, and was unable to escape. He suspected that even if he was willing to hand over the Grade 8 Devil Flame Saber art, young Lord Yi would still want to kill Yang Dingtian. This was because at the auction, in front of everyone, Yang Dingtian had mercilessly slapped him in the face. On the 10th day, Yang Dingtian decided to take the risk out of desperation. He rushed to the highest level of the auction house and used the Taekwondo League's highest chant to order a master-class expert to escort him out. It was just like when Yang Dingtian wanted to return to Cloud Heaven City in the land of chaos. After he found the Taekwondo League's stronghold and said the chant, the other party did not hesitate to send 10 experts to escort him back to Cloud Heaven City. However, it was different this time. This was not the land of chaos. This was the West Prefecture City, which was almost completely under the control of the Northwest Qin clan. If Yang Dingtian said the Taekwondo League's highest chant, he would definitely be able to escape from young Lord Ye's clutches. However, it was obvious that he would be targeted by the Northwest Qin clan. Once he was targeted by the Northwest Qin clan, they would very likely suspect Yang Dingtian's identity. Moreover, using the identity of Shen Lang to sneak into the Northwest Qin city would be completely ruined. There was another possibility. After Yang Dingtian said the Taekwondo League's highest chant, the Northwest Qin clan would naturally think of Yang Dingtian. This was because the chant that Yang Dingtian knew was taught to him by Dongfang Minmi. It was easy to make the connection. Therefore, using the highest chant to order a Taekwondo League master class expert to escort him out was a very dangerous and even fatal method. The consequences might even be worse than being surrounded by young Lord Yi. Therefore, Yang Dingtian really didn't want to use this method. Just as Yang Dingtian was hesitating if he should use this most dangerous method to escape, Su Mei, the little vixen, finally came to visit again. Shen Lang, do you want to escape? Su Mei asked directly. Of course. Yang Dingtian didn't even pretend to be a lecherous playboy. All right, follow me. I will bring you to see someone, Su Mei said. Then she turned around and walked outside. See who? Yang Dingtian frowned and asked. Someone who isn't afraid of White Cloud City at all, Su Mei said. Who exactly is it? Yang Dingtian asked. The owner of this auction house is also my owner. Su Mei said. It's up to you whether you want to follow me or not. Of course, it's up to you whether you can escape in the end. After speaking, Su Mei walked out leisurely. Yang Dingtian followed her out of the room. Instantly, the spiritual energy of the two martial honorable class experts followed him closely. He couldn't shake them off at all. He followed Su Mei out of the VIP building. It was dark outside. It was already midnight. The owner of this auction house actually asked Su Mei to look for him in the middle of the night. After exiting the VIP building, they passed through the huge garden and arrived in front of the huge castle of the auction house. The huge castle of the auction house in the middle of the night was completely dark. It was like a huge monster was entrenched in it. It looked extremely ferocious and terrifying. The huge castle was tens of thousands of square meters in area and tens of meters tall. Even in the technologically advanced era of Earth, it was a super building. Pushing open the thick huge door, the sound it made was especially ear-piercing in the silent night. After walking into the huge central hall of the auction house, he couldn't see his own hands in front of him. He could only smell Su Mei's fragrance as he walked forward. The two martial honorable class experts still followed closely behind. Su Mei ignored them. When they reached the center of the central hall, Su Mei took out a flame crystal and lit it up. Instantly, a flickering flame lit up in the huge hall. Under the flickering firelight, Su Mei also became more mysterious and enchanting. He's here, Su Mei said sweetly. Suddenly, a huge hole appeared in the ground. Let's go down, Su Mei said. Then, she walked in front and walked into the deep underground cave. Yang Dingtian hesitated for a moment before walking down as well. It turned out to be an underground secret room. After Yang Dingtian walked down, there was a gust of wind above his head. It was the door of the secret room that closed. Yang Dingtian could clearly feel that the two martial honorable class experts had sped up and were about to catch up to him. However, suddenly an even stronger aura spread out. Then a cold voice said, "You've reached my master's underground palace. Do you still dare to chase?" Humph. After a cold snort, pooh. The two martial honorable class experts from White Cloud City, who were chasing Yang Dingtian, spat out a mouthful of blood. Although they were unwilling, the two martial honorable class experts quickly retreated. Just a cold snort was enough to make two martial honorable class experts spit out blood. Even if this person wasn't at the master level, he was very close to it. However, he actually addressed him as my master. The owner of this auction house actually had subordinates who were close to the master level. How shocking would that person be? After Yang Dingtian entered the small underground secret room, he immediately fell down quickly. This underground secret room was actually similar to the elevators on Earth. However, there were no elevators in this world. To create the effect of an elevator, one had to rely completely on energy crystals. Just this elevator alone was already extremely expensive. The elevator secret room continued to descend. Dozens of meters, hundreds of meters. After descending for hundreds of meters, the secret room elevator finally stopped. Then a door opened. "Follow me. Keep your eyes on the ground and don't look around," Sume said softly. Then, Sume led the way in front. She lowered her head and didn't dare to breathe loudly. She also didn't dare to make any noise when she walked. Yang Dingtian followed her forward. In the darkness, they vaguely walked through a long corridor that was about 30 meters long. Then they walked up a long flight of stairs that was about 100 steps long. Finally, they arrived in front of a thick door. Even in the darkness, they could vaguely feel the mesmerizing light flowing through the door. After opening the door, Sume said respectfully, "Master, Shen Lang is here." Chapter 210. There was no response from the master inside. "Please go in," Sume said. Then, Yang Dingtian stepped in. Suddenly, his feet went soft as if he was stepping on clouds. There was no doubt that under his feet was the most expensive carpet in the world, woven from the fluff of the Tianshan demon camel. A foot of it was about thousands of gold coins. Whoosh! Suddenly in the dark space it suddenly lit up. In an instant, an incomparably dazzling light pierced Yang Dingtian's eyes. It was brighter than the two suns during the day. Yang Dingtian couldn't help but shrink his eyes. Then his eyes suddenly widened. He looked at everything in front of him in disbelief. Was this the Dragon King's treasure house? Was this the Dragon God's palace? Wherever Yang Dingtian's gaze went, there was gold, gemstones, extremely expensive crystal stones, and the black magic coral hundreds of thousands of meters under the sea. Incomparably expensive pearls, and the demon cores of countless top-grade demon beasts. Every inch of the place that his eyes looked at was resplendent. Every inch of the place was overflowing with flowing light. This was an incomparably huge underground palace. All of the utensils were carved with expensive gemstones. Therefore, the ground was all gold. All of the chairs and beds were purple gold. All of the pillars were gold. Countless gold coins innumerable. Countless purple crystal coins innumerable like an ocean. Countless gold treasures were piled up in the palace room of thousands of square meters. Yang Dingtian wondered if all the wealth in the world had gathered in this underground palace. The wealth here is enough for everyone in the northwest continent to pay taxes for 100 years. A hoarse and seductive voice sounded. This was the owner of this underground palace, and the owner of this auction house. Hearing this seductive voice, Yang Dingtian's mind trembled. It was actually somewhat familiar. He looked towards the direction of the voice. In the center of the hall, there was an incomparably huge golden throne. A throne of more than 10 square meters. At least hundreds of thousands of gold coins were used, and there were countless gemstones embellished. The exquisite carvings made the entire golden throne exude a compelling noble aura. A woman was lying on her side on this golden throne. She was like a demon or a fairy. Under the golden light, and behind the gauze, she was faintly discernible and blurred. She had a stunning face and a pair of soul-stirring eyes. She was Mrs. Qin, the Mrs. Qin who left the auction in a fit of pique. "I am Qin Mengli, the owner of this underground palace, the owner of this auction house, and the true ruler of West Prefecture City." This woman gently propped up her jade-like arm and said in a hoarse voice, "That's right. That Sky Devil Flame Saber art, and the Grade 8 Devil Flame Saber art were all auctioned by me." Yang Dingtian was surprised. This woman was too good at acting. In the end, he failed to obtain the demonic flame saber art at the auction, and left in a fit of anger. How realistic was that? She was actually the owner of all of this. The entire auction was hers. During the auction, I was just toying with those fools. I was simply too bored, Qin Mengli said coquettishly. Yang Dingtian was completely speechless. He was probably half a fool who had been fooled by her. I heard that you were trapped by that clown Yifeng. As long as you took a step out of this place, you would be killed and have your secret manual snatched away. Qin Mengli asked coquettishly. When she mentioned young Lord Yi, her tone instantly became high and mighty, as though she was a queen who controlled the world. Yes, madam, Yang Dingtian replied. Do you want to live and escape? Mrs. Qin asked lazily. Of course, Yang Dingtian replied. 2 days later, I will be returning to Qin City to celebrate my elder brother's birthday. The journey is really lonely and I need a partner. If you become my temporary partner, then that clown, Yifeng, wouldn't dare to lay a finger on you. In the entire Northwest continent, other than me, no one else would dare to lay a finger on you, Mrs. Qin said in a hoarse voice, and looked at Yang Dingtian seductively. Instantly, Yang Dingtian's heart skipped a beat. He wanted to sneak into Qin City and obtain the other half of the Heaven and Earth Obsidian Flame map. Becoming Qin Mengli's subordinate could be said to be the best shortcut. If he followed the normal path, he would rise step by step, enter the eyes of Qin Huayu and the others, and become their trusted subordinate. It would be extremely difficult and would take an unknown amount of time. Even if Yang Dingtian cultivated to the martial mystic level, there were many martial artists of such level in Qin City. If Yang Dingtian wanted to stand out, it would be extremely difficult. Qin Mengli could be said to be the number 3 figure in Northwest Qin City. Becoming her subordinate would allow one to enter the highest level of Qin City. In this way it would save Yang Dingtian a lot of time. The possibility of obtaining the other half of the Heaven and Earth Obsidian Flame map would also increase greatly. As for the possibility of sacrificing his self-esteem, unless he felt a little guilty towards Yin Yan, Yang Dingtian wouldn't be so pretentious as though he was Tang Sanzang. Are you willing to be my subordinate for about half a month? Qin Mengli asked. Of course I am willing. I am willing to die, Yang Dingtian replied. I don't want you to die, as long as you can satisfy me. Qin Mengli said sweetly. However, it is not enough for you to agree. It is still uncertain whether I will take a liking to you. You have a competitor. It is the mysterious man in room 100. He spent 250 million gold coins and a Dragon Dance 9 Heavens flying scroll to bid for your transformation elixir. Do you know why? Yang Dingtian replied. He bid for it and gave it to you. Yes, Qin Mengli said. I was determined to get this transformation elixir. When he snatched it away, I was so angry that my teeth itched. Later on, he gave it to me personally. It was really a pleasant surprise. Furthermore, he is much more beautiful than you. I was really moved. Come out, my dear. Qin Mengli clapped her hands lightly. Immediately, a man walked out from a dark corner of the space. This was the mysterious man in room 100. He was tall and majestic. His entire body was filled with a mysterious and unrestrained temperament. He did not have an extremely handsome face, but he was filled with a manly aura. His eyes were filled with a wild and dangerous aura. With a height of 190 centimeters, his entire body was filled with explosive strength. This was a man who had a fatal attraction to women. He was even more charming than Yang Dingtian, who was currently disguised as Xinlang. Xinlang Yin Biqin. Only one of you can be by my side. To be honest, I am even more moved by Biqin. If it was not for Sumei's pleading, I would not even see you. Now, I will give you a chance to compete fairly. Within a quarter of an hour, you must defeat your opponent, move my heart, and become my companion. You must stay by my side for half a month. Yang Dingtian almost blurted out, but he stopped abruptly. He was very self-aware. Purely in terms of the charm of attracting women, he could not be compared to Yin Biqin. No matter if it was his looks, temperament, methods of pursuing women, or even his ability as a man, Yang Dingtian could not be compared to him. Yang Dingtian could not possibly say that he had a lot of inner qualities, nor could he say that he was unique in this world, because he came from another world. That would be courting death. Furthermore, that Yin Biqin did not even look at Yang Dingtian. He was filled with absolute confidence. as if he did not treat young Dingtian as an opponent. Both of you compete in front of me. You can decide what you want to compete in. Madame Qin lazily flipped over and spoke coquettishly. This Yin Biaqin finally opened his mouth and said indifferently, "What do you want to compete in? Brother Shen, please tell me. Martial arts, painting, poetry, geography, etc. Anything is fine. Even sex is fine." Yang Dingtian was speechless. He would not win in any of these. Of course, regarding poetry, he had a lot of famous sentences from ancient China. Any one of them would be a masterpiece. However, the words and grammar of this world were different from ancient China. The so-called poetry was more like a song than a poem. Therefore, Yang Dingtian would definitely be treated as a lunatic if he were to hum a shui diao getu. "Shen Lang, have you thought about what we want to compete in?" Madame Qin yawned and said, "I don't have much time to wait for you." Yang Dingtian replied, "I have." "What are we competing in?" Madame Qin asked. "Let's compete." Yang Dingtian said, "I will design a game, and Brother Yin will design a game. Whoever Madame thinks is more fun will win." Madame Qin's beautiful eyes lit up when she heard this idea. To be honest, the reason why she wanted to find a partner was not because she lacked men. How could she lack men? She did not know how many handsome men would be willing to line up for her favor. She was really just bored. Therefore, Yang Dingtian's idea was exactly what she wanted. She was really worried that Yang Dingtian would be like those self-proclaimed romantic men and compete in swordsmanship or poetry. "All right, let's compete in this," Madame Qin said. Yang Dingtian said, "Then let's set the time limit as 4 hours. We can use these 4 hours to design the game and make props." Yin Biaqin looked deeply at Yang Dingtian and nodded. "All right." Madame Qin said, "If you want to make props, I have everything here. You can take anything." Yang Dingtian said, "Thank you, madam. I would like to ask Miss Su Mei to help me." "No problem." Madame Qin smiled tenderly. "I have said that you can take any props. Naturally, that includes Su Mei." This sentence was very rude. Su Mei was a person, but she was called a props. However, she did not feel anything strange about it in a room. There were all kinds of gems, gold, silver, and so on. Everything was there. Yang Dingtian sat on the chair and thought about what kind of game he should design. Su Mei stood at the side and looked at him nervously. "You really want me to win?" Yang Dingtian smiled and asked. "Who wants you to win?" Su Mei smiled. "I feel that Yin Biaqin is much more charming. She only knew how to speak the truth." Chapter 211. Yang Dingtian didn't mind and smiled. Su Mei continued, "All right, I do hope that you win. That Yin Biaqin might be handsome, cool, and mysterious, but he seems to be too scheming. I don't know what motive he has for getting close to Madame. It's too dangerous. Aren't you afraid that I have other motives for getting close to your Madame?" Yang Dingtian asked. "Did you know that Madame Qin was the owner of the auction house?" Su Mei asked. Yang Dingtian shook his head. "Did you know that Madame Qin was the true ruler of the entire West Prefecture city?" Su Mei asked again. Yang Dingtian shook his head again. "That's it." Su Mei smiled sweetly. "You don't know anything, so what motive can you have? You're just like other men, attracted by Madame's power and beauty." Immediately after, Su Mei looked at Yang Dingtian deeply. She wanted to say something but hesitated. "What do you have to say?" Yang Dingtian asked. Su Mei turned her face and said, "No matter who wins, you can only stay by Madame's side for half a month. She likes the new and dislikes the old. Therefore to Madame, whether you win or lose is a trivial matter. But to me, it's a matter that decides my fate. So I want you to win, understand?" Yang Dingtian was startled and didn't understand what Su Mei meant. "All right, what game to design and what props to make, have you thought about it?" Su Mei said, "That Yin Biaqin, I think he's very powerful. Furthermore, he has traveled the world and is definitely proficient in games. Therefore, your game must be amazing enough to win against him." "I've already thought about it," Yang Dingtian said. "It might not be stunning, but at least it's long enough. When Madame is bored, she can play it alone." Shameless. After Su Mei heard Yang Dingtian's words, she actually pinched him and blushed. Yang Dingtian couldn't help but be surprised. What was she thinking about? Let me tell you, it's impossible to do that. Sume blushed and said, just this underground palace alone has everything. Furthermore, there's no lack of ingenious craftsmanship. So, don't even think about it. You'll definitely lose. Yang Dingtian finally understood what Sume was thinking about. He was instantly speechless and said, what nonsense are you thinking about? Go and find me a neat golden board. It's square, about a foot square. Also find me a couple of stones of soft texture, a little bigger than the others. One is white, the other is black. Without another word, Sume turned around and walked to the storeroom to take out the things that Yang Dingtian wanted. A golden board and 2 large pieces of jade, one white and one black. Yang Dingtian picked up his sword and drew lines on the golden board. There were 19 horizontal lines, and every 2 lines were equidistant from each other. Then, he used a sharp sword to cut the gem into small pieces. There were 181 black and 180 white. Finally, he used the profound energy on his fingers to remove the corners of a small piece of jade, making every piece flat, round, and smooth. That's right, Yang Dingtian was making Go, one of the games that he never got tired of playing. Originally, Gamoka was much simpler. However, Madame Qin was extremely intelligent and scheming. Go, which was as vast as the sea, was probably her favorite game. You're done? Sume asked. Yang Dingtian nodded. Sume immediately frowned and said, what's so fun about this game? It looks simple and boring. You're definitely going to lose. That might not be the case, Yang Dingtian said. To many people, Go might be too complicated, but it definitely couldn't be said to be boring. If Madame Qin didn't like the complexity of Go, then it could be used as Gamoku. Gamoku was simple enough and interesting enough. 4 hours passed by quickly. Yang Dingtian carried the Go and a long scroll of game rules and entered Madame Qin's bedroom again. At this moment, Qin Mengli was sleeping in the begonia spring. That Yan Biaqin was already waiting there with a box in his hand. At this moment, his face was slightly pale as if he had exhausted a lot of energy. However, it didn't affect his charm at all. When he saw the item in Yang Dingtian's hand, his eyes revealed a trace of disdain. This person was really arrogant and direct. Is it time already? This sleep is really boring. Behind the jade bead curtain, Qin Mengli woke up. She opened her charming eyes and stretched her body. Have both of you finished designing the game? Qin Mengli asked. It's done, madam. Yang Dingtian and Yan Biaqin replied. Qin Mengli said, then who will show it first? Let me do it first. Yan Biaqin said, after madam plays my game, there might be no need for you to play other games. This Yan Biaqin was really arrogant. Alright, then you go first. Qin Mengli said gently. I want to see if such a good-looking man like you has any impressive methods. I will definitely not disappoint madam, Yan Biaqin said. After that, he walked to the front of Qin Mengli's bed and placed the huge box down. Instantly, Yang Dingtian was filled with curiosity. What kind of treasure would Yan Biaqin offer? When the box was open, there was an almost transparent jade plate inside. It was filled with extremely complicated patterns. Furthermore, the complicated and mysterious patterns were surging within the jade. Even though Yang Dingtian didn't know what this item was, it looked very precious and rare. This is the mystic enchanting jade? Qin Mengli exclaimed as her beautiful eyes lit up. Madam has good eyesight, Yan Biaqin said. Sume immediately moved closer to Yang Dingtian's ears and said, you have already lost with just this mystic enchanting jade. Yang Dingtian looked at this mystic enchanting jade and was astonished. Who exactly was this Yan Biaqin? He actually possessed such a huge piece of such a precious mystic enchanting jade. It was a square foot in size. The mystic enchanting jade was a type of stone that had life, but didn't have a soul. When it was just born, it was a body of energy. After growing for a few hundred to 1,000 years, it would turn into a surging liquid. After another few hundred to 1,000 years, it would turn into a transparent jade-like solid. A fist-sized mystic enchanting jade was already priceless. This Yan Biaqin actually possessed such a huge piece. The greatest use of this item was to reconstruct the soul. Every high-grade martial artist would need to use the mystic enchanting jade when they cultivated their martial spirit. After refining a demonic beast into a martial spirit, the martial spirit would have no place to reside. Therefore, the martial spirit would have to be temporarily imbued into the mystic enchanting jade. After that, the martial artist would bring this mystic enchanting jade with the martial spirit for a long period of interaction and nurturing. This way, the martial spirit would gradually recognize its owner. When the martial artist could freely control the martial spirit in battle, it would be considered as possessing a martial spirit. Therefore, most of the time, martial artists would make the mystic enchanting jade into sword hilts, breastplates, wrists, and so on. This would ensure that the martial spirit would be in contact with them. Furthermore, the older the mystic enchanting jade was, the bigger its size, and the more powerful the martial spirit would be able to reside in it. Therefore, the value of the mystic enchanting jade that Yan Biaqin took out was even more valuable than the 8th grade mystic skill, Devil Flame Saber art that Yang Dingtian obtained. Madame Qin might be the richest in the world, but when she saw Yan Biaqin take out such a huge mystic enchanting jade, she was still shocked. To be honest, she had never seen such a huge mystic enchanting jade. Therefore, Su Mei immediately said that Yang Dingtian would definitely lose. Withdrawing her stunned gaze, Qin Mengli said, "Dear, this isn't presenting a treasure. It's designing a game." "It's a game." Yan Biaqin laughed. "Madam, please place your hand on this mystic enchanting jade." "What are you doing?" Qin Mengli rolled her eyes at him. Then, she placed her snow-white hand on the mystic enchanting jade. "Inject a little mystic qi and your spirit into the mystic enchanting jade," Yan Biaqin said. Madame Qin's beautiful eyes revealed a curious expression. Then, she followed Yan Biaqin's instructions and injected her mystic qi and spirit. Instantly a miracle appeared. A pink radiance started to condense on the mystic enchanting jade. At first it was faint. Later on, the radiance became denser and brighter. Finally, all the radiance condensed into a delicate figure. It was actually Qin Mengli. Qin Mengli was only about 5 inches tall. No matter if it was her appearance or figure, she was exactly the same as Qin Mengli. Although she was only 5 inches tall, she had a myriad of bearings and was extremely charming. At this moment, it wasn't just Qin Mengli. Even Su Mei and Yang Dingtian were completely stunned and had an inconceivable expression. "Madam, you can use your spirit to control this tiny Madame Qin," Yan Biaqin said. Madame Qin followed his instructions and used her spirit to control this tiny figure. Immediately, the tiny figure on the mystic enchanting jade started to dance. Her dance was graceful, and her figure was extremely graceful. She floated in spirals and moved on the jade plate. Her style was peerless and enchanting. At the same time, Yan Biaqin injected his mystic qi and spirit from the other side of the mystic enchanting jade. Instantly, a tiny Yan Biaqin condensed on the other side of the jade plate. He was also about 5 inches tall and looked exactly the same as Yan Biaqin. Then the two tiny figures started to dance on the jade plate. Their movements were ambiguous and blurry. You advance and I retreat. They wanted to refuse, but were also embarrassed. Madame Qin's dance was enchanting and moving. Yan Biaqin's dance steps were elegant and provocative. His gaze was filled with aggression. The distance between the two tiny figures was getting closer and closer. The atmosphere was getting more and more ambiguous. At this moment, Qin Mengli's face revealed a trace of blush and shyness. To be honest, she didn't know how long it had been since she felt this shy. Finally, the Yan Biaqin on the jade plate extended his arm and was about to embrace Qin Mengli. Qin Mengli's tiny figure flashed gently. Her delicate figure retreated rapidly and quickly disappeared from the jade plate. Then, Madame Qin's tiny hand left the mystic enchanting jade. She rolled her eyes at him and said, "You actually used such a precious treasure as a toy to please a woman. Aren't you afraid of incurring the wrath of heaven?" Chapter 212. That's right. With such a huge mystic enchanting jade, no one knew how powerful a martial spirit could be stored in it. It was truly a priceless treasure. However, it was actually used as a game item by Yan Biaqin. Once mystic qi and soul spirit were injected into this item, it would be completely useless, and could no longer be used to refine a martial spirit. Yan Biaqin's gaze was fiery and gentle as he said, "For my wife, I am willing to pluck down even the stars in the sky." At this moment, Sumei couldn't help but blur her eyes as she said to Yang Dingtian, "Stop competing. You will definitely lose." At this moment, Yang Dingtian sighed in his heart. "Yan Biaqin, you really put in a lot of effort to woo women." Such a huge mystic enchanting jade was enough to exchange for 4 to 5 8th grade mystic skill manuals. Now, he was actually using it to make a beauty smile. It was really like the saying, "If you want to be romantic, you have to waste it first." However, women just couldn't stand it. Qin Mingli obviously loved this item. Her beautiful eyes were filled with splendor as she touched this mystic enchanting jade, and couldn't bear to part with it. She had completely forgotten that Yang Dingtian was still standing at the side. After a few minutes, Qin Mingli finally remembered Yang Dingtian. She looked at Yang Dingtian and said, "Oh, that's right, Yang Dingtian. Where's your game?" Yang Dingtian stepped forward and placed the chessboard and chess pieces in front of Qin Mingli. He then presented the rules of the game that were a few thousand words long. "The game I present is Go. It's for my wife to pass the time," Yang Dingtian said. Madame Qin lazily took the silk scroll that was filled with the rules of Go. After reading for a while, she yawned as though she had lost interest. After spending over 10 minutes, Madame Qin finally finished reading the rules of Go. She yawned over 10 times, and looked as though she wanted to sleep. At this moment, Sumei felt that Yang Dingtian had completely lost all hope, while Yan Biaqin's disdain and sneer deepened. After reading, Madame Qin looked at Yang Dingtian with her beautiful eyes. "Yang Dingtian, did you come up with this Go game yourself?" Yang Dingtian replied, "Yes, my wife." Mrs. Qin said, "I think the rules are extremely complicated. I'm afraid there are thousands of things involved. How did you come up with it?" Yang Dingtian, "I've been wandering around all year round alone, so I've been playing games with myself in my mind to pass the time of loneliness." Mrs. Qin asked, "How are you doing?" Yang Dingtian, "I don't know, because I can only play with myself." Mrs. Qin said, "You created this game, so you must be really good at it." Yang Dingtian shook his head and said, "Not necessarily. I only created it, but I can't control it. Others can be more powerful than me." Mrs. Qin said, "Since we have nothing to do, why don't you play a game with me?" "Yes, madam," Yang Dingtian replied. Then, Yang Dingtian sat on the couch and started playing chess with Mrs. Qin. Mrs. Qin was truly amazing. She had completely memorized and mastered the rules of Go after reading them once. It was just that in the beginning, she really did not put enough effort into it. However, under Yang Dingtian's pressure, she kept retreating. This woman was smart and arrogant. When she saw that she was forced to such a miserable state, she could not help but feel indignant. She started to put more effort into the game. As the game went on, Qin Mingli became more and more engrossed. She became more and more attentive. Later on, she even forgot about her manners. Her expression started to show nervousness, indignation, confusion, contemplation, etc. In the end, she simply threw her entire body and mind into the game. She did not hide her emotions at all. For a moment, she completely forgot about the passage of time. Even though Mrs. Qin was very engrossed in the game, it was still her first time playing. Yang Dingtian's skill was not considered weak, so after the first game, Mrs. Qin lost a total of 8 pieces. After losing, Mrs. Qin fell into deep thought. Then, she looked at Yang Dingtian and said, "I made many mistakes in the first game. If I can avoid these mistakes, I will definitely not lose. Let's play another game." Once she said this, Sumei immediately revealed a surprised expression. Was this game of black and white really that interesting? As for Yan Biaqin, he also revealed a surprised and worried expression. Mrs. Qin began to play the second game with Yang Dingtian. In this game, Mrs. Qin was even more engrossed. She had to think about every move she made. Her entire body and mind were completely engrossed in the game of Go. She completely forgot about Yan Biaqin and Sumei. During the game, she was suddenly cheering and jumping for joy. Then she became angry and indignant. Then she made a difficult choice. In short, All her spirit and body were completely focused on this small chessboard. However, even so, she still lost the second game. She lost to Yang Dingtian 6 pieces. "No, let's play again," Mrs. Qin said. "I made many new mistakes in this game. Let's play another game. I don't believe I will lose." Immediately after, she swept the chess pieces and impatiently separated the white and black pieces. She impatiently started a new game. At this moment, Sume could not help but say, "Madam, it's already noon. It's time for lunch." "What lunch? I'm not eating. I'll eat after I win," Mrs. Qin said. Sume wanted to persuade her again, but Mrs. Qin immediately said angrily, "Am I the owner or are you the owner?" Immediately after, she impatiently placed her first piece. Then she looked at Yang Dingtian and said, "Quickly, quickly." Yang Dingtian smiled and followed her for the third game. In the third game, Mrs. Qin was anxious and impatient. She made even more mistakes and lost even more. She directly lost to Yang Dingtian by 9 pieces. Instantly, Mrs. Qin was flustered and exasperated. She immediately pulled the jade hairpin on her head, causing her beautiful hair to fall down. Her beautiful eyes were red as she stared at the chessboard. She also felt that her long sleeves were in the way, so she directly tore them off. She panted and said, "Why did I lose even more in the third game? No, let's play again. Today I must win against you." Sume could not help but say, "Madam, it's already dark. It's time for dinner." I'm not eating, Mrs. Qin said. "I lost so badly. What's there to eat?" Then, Mrs. Qin grabbed Yang Dingtian's hand and said, Again, you're not allowed to leave until I win." Yang Dingtian broke free from Mrs. Qin's hand and said, "Madam, let's play again tomorrow. If this continues, I'm afraid you'll lose more and more. What you need now is to calm down and think for a while. Then you can play again." "Really?" Mrs. Qin said. "Really?" Yang Dingtian said. Mrs. Qin's beautiful eyes were still filled with unwillingness. She took a deep breath and said, "Okay, then we'll play again tomorrow. But you'll not leave and stay here with me." Yang Dingtian was stunned and said, "Then I'll do as you say." At this moment, Sume's eyes were filled with admiration and disbelief for Yang Dingtian. "Madam, then who is the winner of this competition?" Sume asked. Suddenly, Mrs. Qin recalled the competition between Yang Dingtian and Yin Biaqin. Her beautiful eyes looked at Yang Dingtian meaningfully and said, "Yang Dingtian, you're not a good person. You thought of such a soul-stirring thing to torment me." Yang Dingtian smiled and did not say anything. Then, Mrs. Qin looked at Yin Biaqin with eyes filled with reluctance and said, "Husband Yin, your mystic enchanting jade is truly a work of art that surpasses the heavens. But it's a pity that you can only play for 2 to 3 days before it becomes meaningless. As for Shenlangs go, I'm afraid I won't be able to fully comprehend it in my lifetime. I prefer men who are as deep as the sea. So I'm sorry. Yang Dingtian is the winner of this competition." Yin Biaqin's expression changed slightly as he bowed and said, "Biaqin understands. I'm willing to accept my loss. But my infatuation for Madam will never change. Farewell." After finishing his words, Yin Biaqin immediately turned and left. Qin Mengli looked at his back view, and the reluctance in her beautiful eyes intensified. This Yin Biaqin was truly a formidable bachelor. After losing, he didn't pester her and left immediately. Instead, he left a deeper impression in Qin Mengli's heart. It was obvious that he was planning for the future. After Yin Biaqin left completely, Qin Mengli smiled at Yang Dingtian and said, "From today onwards, you're my temporary partner. Whenever you make me lose my surprise, I will expel you. Now accompany me for a meal." For the next few days, Yang Dingtian frequently played chess with Qin Mengli. Qin Mengli's intelligence was indeed very high. On the 5th day, Yang Dingtian lost to her for the first time. From then on, it was out of control. Yang Dingtian lost again and again, and the number of chess pieces he lost was increasing. As such, Qin Mengli became less and less interested in playing chess with Yang Dingtian. Chapter 213. On the 9th day, Yang Dingtian had lost a total of 5 pieces. Qin Mengli threw the chess pieces into the box with waning interest and said with a hoarse voice, Shun Lang, this game that you invented is very, very interesting. However, your standards are very poor. Did you really invent this game? Of course. Yang Dingtian said. I have said this before. Although I invented this game, my standards might not be the highest. I might only be of average standards. However, Yan Biaqin only listened to the rules of this game and thought about it for a few days. Yet his standard of playing chess is already higher than yours. Madame Qin said lazily. He played 3 rounds with me and won 1 round. Your standards are so average that I can't help but suspect that you are the inventor of this game. Yang Dingtian's heart suddenly jumped. This Yan Biaqin was really like a lingering spirit. Furthermore, he didn't know that Qin Mengli still summoned Yan Biaqin, even after she had made her choice. It was obvious how attractive that man was to her. Without a doubt, Yan Biaqin's standard of playing chess had already surpassed Qin Mengli's. However, he always purposely won 1 out of 3 rounds and kept Qin Mengli in suspense so that she wouldn't lose interest early on. Furthermore, Yan Biaqin's intelligence was too frightening. After he understood the rules and played with himself for a few days, he actually defeated Qin Mengli. It was known that Qin Mengli's current chess skills weren't low. At the very least, she had far surpassed Yang Dingtian. It was known that Yang Dingtian's chess skills were considered to be one of the top few in the interest class during university. However, it was obvious that he was determined to win Qin Mengli over. Or rather, he had a huge motive. As for what his motive was, it was unknown. Qin Mengli looked at Yang Dingtian playfully. Why? Aren't you prepared to explain? Yang Dingtian sneered. Did that Yan Biaqin ask you to question me? What is his motive? Also, why didn't he ask me directly? Why did he ask you through your mouth? Since you asked me to come out, I'll come out. Yan Biaqin walked in and looked at Yang Dingtian. I officially suspect that this game of Go wasn't invented by you. You merely plagiarized the achievements of a certain sage. I can't believe that someone who could design such a profound and mysterious game would be so bad at it. Yang Dingtian shook his head and sneered. He said to Qin Mengli, Do you think so too? It doesn't matter to me. Qin Mengli said, However, if that's really the case, I'm really disappointed. Haha. Yang Dingtian raised his head and laughed. He said to Su Mei, Bring me a jade plate and jade stone. After Su Mei glanced at Qin Mengli, she turned around to retrieve the jade plate and jade stones. He brought a total of 3 jade plates. There were all kinds of jades and stones, and there were more than a dozen of them. Instantly, Madame Qin couldn't help but look at Su Mei. Even though Su Mei didn't say anything, it was obvious from her actions that she was on Yang Dingtian's side. Yang Dingtian immediately took a jade plate and used his sword to cut it into a square. Then he drew 32 squares on the left and right sides. There was a blank space in the middle, and 4 words were engraved on it: Land of Chaos. Next, Yang Dingtian used his sword to take out 16 oblate chess pieces from a large piece of red jade. Then, he used his sword to take out 16 oblate chess pieces from a large piece of black gemstone. Each chess piece was about the same size and had a diameter of about 1 inch. That's right, he was going to make Chinese chess. However, the words on it couldn't be written according to the words on Earth. The red side represented the Tiando League, while the black side represented the evil ways. Therefore, the commander was changed to the League leader, while the general was changed to the Demon King. Scholar could still be a scholar because there was a similar title in this world. It was equivalent to the position of a strategist. It was just that this world's language was used. Minister could still be a minister, and was equivalent to the position of Shimanju's internal affairs supervisor. This world didn't have cannons, but there were devil crystal crossbows, which were equivalent to cannons. The word horse could be used to refer to powerful demonic beast mounts. The most important thing was the carriage, which had to be changed to an array. This was because the most lethal array in this world was formed by dozens of experts, or even dozens of experts. Back then, on the sea, Dongfang Bingling, Zhu Hongxue, and dozens of Yinyang school's disciples formed a Yinyang array, which almost killed Shiman Wuya, who was a grandmaster. Of course, before that, Shiman Wuya had already exhausted his mystic qi and was heavily injured. As for the soldier and pawn, they could be carved out using this world's language. After finishing this world's version of Chinese chess, young Ding Tian started to introduce the rules of the game. After he finished, young Ding Tian immediately arranged the chess pieces and pushed them in front of Yan Biaqin. "Come, let's play a game." Yan Biaqin frowned slightly, but he still nodded. Because the rules of Chinese chess weren't complicated, young Ding Tian only needed to explain it once, and Yan Biaqin had already memorized it. Young Ding Tian didn't say anything else, and immediately started to play the game. Yan Biaqin thought for a moment, and started to play as well. After a short 25 moves, young Ding Tian won and defeated Yan Biaqin's Demon King. After the game, young Ding Tian looked coldly at Yan Biaqin. "Have you played this Chinese chess before?" Yan Biaqin shook his head. "No." Young Ding Tian continued. "Then have you heard of it?" Yan Biaqin continued to shake his head. "No. Similarly, this Chinese chess was invented by me." Young Ding Tian said coldly, "But after a dozen games you will surpass me. Do you know why?" "I am all ears." Yan Biaqin said. Someone can design something from a strategic point of view. No matter how complicated and mysterious the game is, he will be able to design it. But once he enters the game, he will not be good at it. This can only prove that he has the ability to plan the entire situation. But he might not have the ability to fight for a city. This is like a phoenix flying high up in the 9 heavens, looking down at the tall mountains on the ground. The path on the mountain can be seen clearly, but once it breaks its wings and falls into the mountain, it will still get lost. Yang Ding Tian said. "Is this logic clear enough?" Once this theory was explained, Qin Mengli's beautiful eyes instantly lit up. It was obvious that Yang Dingtian's reason had deeply convinced her, and even moved her. Furthermore, in this theory, Yang Dingtian had ulterior motives. He molded himself into a great talent that could plan the entire situation, while Yan Biaqin was only a talent that could charge into battles. It was obvious that Yan Biaqin had also heard the meaning behind Yang Dingtian's words, but he couldn't find any words to refute. He immediately laughed heartily and bowed to Yang Dingtian. "Brother Shin is very talented. Yan Biaqin has learned from you." Immediately after, Yan Biaqin said to Qin Mengli, "Madam, I have gauged the heart of a gentleman with the yardstick of a villain. I am sorry. I will take my leave now." Then, he actually turned around and left. It was extremely straightforward and decisive. Yang Dingtian deeply felt that this was undoubtedly a formidable opponent. When he saw that things couldn't be done, he would definitely not get entangled. Yang Dingtian continued to arrange the chess pieces and said to Qin Mengli, "Madam, shall I accompany you to play this chess game?" Qin Mengli shook her head. She looked at Yang Dingtian, and didn't look at the Chinese chess. "No, I don't want to play chess now. I want to understand you as a person now. Who are you?" Yang Dingtian remained silent for a moment and said, "A loner, a dreamer." "I am also a loner," Qin Mengli said. "I am always in a state of boredom. Even if something is fun and interesting, it will only last for a few days. Your Go game, and this Chinese chess game, are both very mysterious and fun. However, to be honest, I am already a little tired of Go. I have not even started playing this Chinese chess game, but I can already faintly feel that I will be tired of it after 5 days. Do you have any other fun games?" "Yes, a lot," Yang Dingtian said. "But they are not very useful to you, because there will be a day when you will be tired of all similar games. You will even be tired of games that you have not played before. Then do you have any methods to make everything less boring?" Qin Mengli asked. "Yes," Yang Dingtian said. "Tell me about it," Qin Mengli said. "You have always been doing things in your own territory. Everything has never left your control. Therefore, everything will become boring. You only need to leave a place that can absolutely protect you, and place yourself in an unknown and dangerous environment. As long as it is filled with unknowns, it will definitely not be boring," Yang Dingtian said. "There has to be a goal, right?" Qin Mengli said. "If you want me to leave all the familiar illusions and go on an adventure in a completely unfamiliar place, you will need a strong enough motivation." Yang Dingtian thought for a while and shook his head. "Sorry, I am not you. Therefore, I cannot find a reason for you. Qin Mengli smiled charmingly and said, Then what about you? You are a prodigal who has traveled the world. Then what is the reason that supports you to take such risks? What is your goal? Yang Dingtian thought for a while and said, To search for the ultimate secret of this world. What ultimate secret? Qin Mengli asked. The secret of why the ancient civilization was destroyed, and why there would be an apocalyptic battle every few hundred years, Yang Dingtian said. Then what did you discover? Qin Mengli asked. Yang Dingtian thought for a while and said, It is very vague, and you will not be really interested in it. No, I am very interested. Tell me something, Qin Mengli said. Yang Dingtian thought for a while and said, In the ancient world, the abyssal ocean was once a place where the Naga tribe lived. Before the apocalypse, the Naga tribe collectively migrated to a place where humans could not find them. Qin Mengli's expression was slightly shocked and said, I did not have high hopes when you were about to tell me, but who knew that it would be so shocking? Following that, Qin Mengli said, However, I advise you not to tell anyone else about your inner thoughts. Otherwise, you will die without a burial ground. Yang Dingtian nodded. In fact, Yang Dingtian's words were indeed a taboo in the Tiando League. This was because the abyssal ocean was where the Temple of Annihilation was located. It was the central area of the evil ways, and was also the most mysterious place in the world. For thousands of years, the Tiando League could not touch this place. Even the Tiando League did not know where the abyssal ocean was. They only knew that it was in the far west. The Naga tribe was a close relative of the divine dragon, and was the most powerful tribe in the world. Linking the evil ways and the Naga tribe together was equivalent to infinitely increasing the popularity of the evil ways. This would attack the authority of the Tiando League. Therefore, linking the evil ways and the Naga tribe together was an absolute taboo. Almost no one in the Tiando League dared to touch it. Qin Mengli looked at Yang Dingtian and said, Then why did you stop wandering when you came to me? After a moment of silence, Yang Dingtian said, Tell the truth. Qin Mengli's gaze suddenly became serious and solemn as she said, That's right, tell the truth. Perhaps I will stop for the time being, Yang Dingtian said. The wandering was too tiring previously. Coincidentally, I passed by the West Prefecture city and saw such a beautiful you. It seemed to have reminded me of many things in the past. Therefore, I felt even more tired and couldn't help but stop and rest. Then how long are you going to rest at my place? Qin Mengli asked. I don't know, Yang Dingtian said, but I think it will definitely last longer than your interest in a man. Qin Mengli stood up leisurely and said, To tell you the truth, the game you designed is indeed very profound and mysterious. However, if we are to be partners in bed, I prefer Yanbiaqin. Moreover, I don't feel like playing chess anymore. However, you are the winner after all. Therefore you still have one last test, which is the ability of a man. If you can conquer me, then I will be yours for at least half a month, or even a month. Then it will depend on your performance. Yang Dingtian's heart skipped a beat. This moment had finally arrived. Chapter 214. Following which, Qin Mengli's beautiful eyes flickered. Furthermore, I'm not afraid to tell you that Yanbiaqin is just outside my palace. If you don't satisfy me, I will call him in to replace you anytime. Instantly, Yang Dingtian felt immense pressure. She actually said it so harshly and directly. To put it bluntly, Qin Mengli could be said to be a promiscuous woman. It could be said that she had met all kinds of men, and had all kinds of men. Furthermore, the men that she had chosen were mostly 1 in a million. Therefore, Yang Dingtian wasn't outstanding in these aspects. Therefore, it would be extremely difficult to conquer this woman in front of him. Most importantly, no matter how handsome or capable a man was, he would never be able to win. It was guaranteed that Qin Mengli would be sick of him in less than 10 days. This was because a relationship between a man and a woman, without feelings, was destined to not last long. It was just like a movie. Only a movie with a plot would be watched over and over again. As for a movie with a pure plot, it would be redundant to watch it twice. Therefore, if Yang Dingtian followed Qin Mengli's request and really did something with her, it was guaranteed that he would be chased away from her in less than 5 days. Yang Dingtian's objective was to sneak into Qin City and obtain the other half of the Heaven and Earth Mystic Flame map. Therefore, not only did he have to stay by her side, he also had to become a very important person to her. This was because Qin Mengli was considered as the second or third most important person in Northwest Qin City. As long as he was important enough in her heart, he could even enter the upper echelons of Northwest Qin City and obtain the other half of the Heaven and Earth Mystic Flame map. At this moment, the lights in the palace dimmed. Only the golden couch gradually lit up with pink radiance. Qin Mengli stood under the warm radiance and looked even more enchanting. It was really a pity for this woman. She was such a heaven-sent beauty, yet she was so promiscuous and shameless. Yang Dingtian thought about it over and over again in his mind. If he were to use conventional methods, it would definitely not work and would definitely fail. Therefore, he might have to do the opposite. He had to use special methods. Come on, show me your capabilities, Qin Mengli said to Yang Dingtian. Remember, this is your final test, and also the most important test. With that, she leisurely walked to the couch and lay down on her side. She supported her chin with her jade-like hand and looked at Yang Dingtian. There were many men before her, and at this moment, all of them were completely infatuated. They knelt down, and many of them even cried. Qin Mengli enjoyed this feeling very much. She enjoyed the men's worship and admiration for her body. She was like a queen looking at their mesmerized gazes, while those men's actions were extremely humble. This kind of high and mighty queen felt good, but it was really easy to get tired of it. Therefore, the happiness brought by the worship of the same man would not exceed half a month. Therefore, Qin Mengli's temporary partner did not spend more than half a month by her side. She had always told herself that she would never fall in love with another man. Her heart had already died on that ugly night more than 10 years ago. In addition, she later married a husband that she hated completely because of a political marriage. Fortunately, there was still a brother in this world who truly loved her, Qin Wanqiu. Otherwise, Qin Mengli felt that she might have fallen to an unimaginable state. Yang Dingtian slowly walked forward and looked at the beautiful Qin Mengli. When his gaze landed on the back of her waist, his gaze trembled slightly. There was a birthmark on the side of Qin Mengli's waist. It was a natural plum blossom birthmark. It was very beautiful, and could be seen clearly even through a thin veil. Shenlang, what are you waiting for? Qin Mengli asked in a hoarse voice. Yang Dingtian was silent for a while, as if he had fallen into an intense struggle. Shenlang. Qin Mengli's voice already carried a tinge of impatience. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and said, Sorry, I can't do it. Qin Mengli was stunned and said, Can't do it? What do you mean? Aren't you a man? Yang Dingtian said, Madam, if it's to accompany you to play and kill your boredom, then I'm willing to do it in order to avoid being hunted down by the White Cloud City's young lord. But if it's to have intimate relations, I'm sorry, I really can't do it. Qin Mengli was completely stunned at first, then a tinge of anger appeared in her eyes. She said, Shenlang, are you retreating in order to advance? You're quite ambitious. But it's a pity that this move of yours is already outdated. Someone else has already used it. I saw it as cheating, so I've already chopped off that person and fed him to the dogs. Yang Dingtian trembled slightly and said, You're only rejecting me, madam. There's no need to feed me to the dogs. Qin Mengli sneered and said, If it proves that you're indeed scheming, then you're lying to me. Chopping someone up and feeding him to the dogs in my territory is already a light punishment for daring to deceive me. Yang Dingtian was silent for a while before he said, First of all, I'm not a real prodigal. Of course, I'm indeed a prodigal, and I'm indeed a prodigal. But in terms of relationships, I'm just a fledgling. I'm not a prodigal. I've never done that kind of thing between a man and a woman in your mouth. Qin Mengli sneered and said, You're already in your 30s and you've never had a woman before? Yang Dingtian said, What's so strange about that? This isn't honorable and isn't important. Yes, it's not important, Qin Mengli said. In my eyes, this is a synonym for incompetence. Yang Dingtian didn't have any reaction to Qin Mengli's words. After hesitating for a while, he still opened his mouth and said, "If I don't have feelings, then that kind of thing is a sin." Ha 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 ha. Qin Mengli laughed loudly and said, "Now you're acting innocent for me?" Ha ha ha. Yang Dingtian didn't explain, and continued to stand there without moving. Qin Mengli's expression turned cold and said, "All right, it doesn't matter if you're really innocent or pretending to be innocent and scheming. It's up to you. Since you don't cherish the chance I've given you, then scram. While you're at it, call Yan Biaqin in." "Yes," Yang Dingtian said. "Then may I ask if I can still stay here and avoid being hunted down by the White Cloud City's young lord?" Qin Mengli was so angry that she laughed. She originally wanted to chase Yang Dingtian away, but after thinking for a while she said, "Seeing that the thing you invented is quite interesting, I'll protect you." "Thank you, madam." Yang Dingtian immediately turned around and left as if a heavy burden had been lifted off his shoulders. He didn't hesitate at all and didn't stop at all. This was very important. He had to leave resolutely without any hesitation. Seeing this scene, Qin Mengli was slightly stunned. Could it be that Shen Lang was really an innocent person? "Sumei!" Qin Mengli shouted. After a while, Sumei walked in from the side door. When she saw that Shen Lang wasn't around, she couldn't help but be slightly stunned. Qin Mengli said, "You've interacted with Shen Lang more. Do you think he's experienced in relationships?" Sumei smiled and said, "He looks experienced, but he's actually a rookie. When he's pretending to be a hooligan, his hands will involuntarily tremble." Qin Mengli was stunned and didn't really take it to heart. After all, it didn't matter to her whether Shen Lang was very innocent or not. Although Shen Lang had invented Chinese chess, Go and so on, and was a very special person, in Qin Mengli's heart, he was only slightly better than a cat or dog. Although he didn't know how to appreciate favors, she couldn't be too harsh on an innocent person. Therefore, she didn't have the heart to punish him. She didn't even have the intention to chase him away. Of course, if it was proven that Shen Lang was scheming, then he would be dead meat. Yang Dingtian walked for a long distance before he saw Yan Biaqin in a study room. Yan Biaqin was slightly stunned when he saw Shen Lang. Shouldn't Shen Lang be with Qin Mengli at this time? Why did he come out? However, Yan Biaqin, who was originally opposing Yang Dingtian, didn't have any hostility at this moment. He stood up and greeted, "Greetings, Brother Shen." Yang Dingtian returned the greeting. "Greetings, Brother Yan." The two of them looked at each other, and their gazes were somewhat complicated. In their hearts, the other party was very outstanding, and wasn't someone who was willing to be under Qin Mengli's skirt. Therefore, there must be an ulterior motive. Therefore, Yang Dingtian didn't know what Yan Biaqin's motive was. Moreover, he didn't even know who this person was. However, smart people wouldn't open their mouths to ask. Not only would they not get an answer, but they would also expose themselves. It was enough for the two of them to know. Yang Dingtian said, "Brother Yan, Madam Qin asked you to enter." Chapter 215. Yan Biaqin couldn't help but be startled. What exactly was going on? For a moment, Yan Biaqin couldn't see through this opponent clearly. Previously, Yan Biaqin didn't place Yang Dingtian in his eyes. Although Go and Chinese chess were amazing. However, Yan Biaqin felt that this shouldn't have been invented by Shen Lang. He just happened to know about it, and stole it for his own use. He felt that with Shen Lang's wisdom, he would not be able to invent such a profound thing. However, since he didn't succeed in uncovering the truth, then forget it. Anyway, Qin Mengli would only be interested in this thing for 2 or 3 days. Shen Lang felt that the final winner would definitely be him. But now he really couldn't see through Yang Dingtian. However, Yan Biaqin didn't show it as he said, "If that's the case, then I shall take my leave." Then, he walked towards Qin Mengli's bedroom. There was no trace of complacency on his face. After entering the palace and seeing the incomparably beautiful Qin Mengli under the warm light, Yan Biaqin's eyes immediately lit up. Qin Mengli waved her hand and said, "Yan Biaqin and Shen Lang have been eliminated. In that case, I'll let you off easy. I hope you won't disappoint me." Even though Yan Biaqin was extremely moved, he still wished to know what was going on. Immediately, Yan Biaqin smiled and asked, "May I ask, madam, What exactly did Xin Lang do wrong for Madam to kick him out of the competition? Qin Mengli sneered. Why? Are you going to plead for him? Yin Biaqin replied. No, I have been captivated by Madam's dreams. Therefore I am currently ecstatic. But I still want to know. I love Madam very much, so I really don't want to have an unfair advantage. Instantly, Qin Mengli's expression turned ugly. She sneered and said, Xin Lang said that he is a pure and innocent fledgling. Therefore, he does not wish to have a closer relationship with me. When Qin Mengli said these words, she was extremely furious because it made her lose face. Yin Biaqin's eyes flickered as he said, Madam, this is illogical. Qin Mengli asked, What do you mean? Yin Biaqin said, Firstly, I believe that there are men who are very affectionate, but there will never be a pure man. Secondly, Madam is devastatingly beautiful. Any normal man in the world would be attracted to her. There are no exceptions. These two sentences made Qin Mengli burst with joy. She had always believed that she had this kind of unparalleled charm. Yin Biaqin said, Therefore, Xin Lang is taking a step back in order to advance. He hopes to leave behind a unique and deep impression in Madam's heart, so that he can have other plans. Qin Mengli's expression turned cold as she said, If that's the case, then he is courting death. How can we prove it? Yin Biaqin said, It's very simple. If he has other motives, he will definitely insist on staying by Madam's side. Therefore, as long as you give the order to chase him away, and he desperately wants to stay, it means that he has ulterior motives. Qin Mengli said, He stayed behind to receive my protection. Because he has offended the White Cloud City's young lord, he will be hunted down if he goes out. Yin Biaqin replied, That's very simple. You chased him away, but you're willing to shelter him. Send a letter to young Lord Yi, saying that you must not touch a single strand of Xin Lang's hair. After that, we'll just have to see how Xin Lang reacts. Qin Mengli frowned and said, The relationship between White Cloud City and Qin City is not as close as you think. Young Lord Yi might not listen to my words. So what? It's not like you have to protect Xin Lang. Yin Biaqin said, It's just a way to declare your stance and see how Xin Lang reacts. Qin Mengli said, Then what if Xin Lang really leaves? Yin Biaqin said, Could it be that you care about his life and death? Qin Mengli was startled and said, That's right. What does his life and death have to do with me? Following that, Qin Mengli said, In that case, you might as well go out and call him in again. This game is getting more and more interesting. Qin Mengli's eyes instantly revealed a devilish radiance. When Yin Biaqin informed him to enter Qin Mengli's bedroom again, Yang Dingtian couldn't help but be slightly startled. After that, he sensed a dangerous aura from Yin Biaqin's gaze. If nothing went wrong, he would be walking on a tightrope. If he fell, he would die. Yang Dingtian took a deep look at Yin Biaqin. Originally, his battle of wits with Qin Mengli was just a type of risk, and not playing with fire. However, because of Yin Biaqin's existence, this had already become a type of playing with fire. If he lost, he might lose his life. If he knew how dangerous it would be, perhaps he wouldn't have played from the start, and would have planned for the long term. However, now that the arrow was already knocked on the bow, he had no choice but to release it. It was either the winner takes all or he dies. After taking a deep breath secretly, Yang Dingtian walked into Qin Mengli's bedroom again. Xin Lang, since you have no intention of becoming my temporary companion, then there's no need for you to stay by my side. You can leave now. Qin Mengli said. Yang Dingtian said, But young Lord Yi is chasing after me outside. If I go out, I will definitely die. Are you that afraid of death? Qin Mengli sneered. I'm not that afraid of death, but I'm afraid of dying without meaning. Yang Dingtian said, If I discover the secrets of the world, then I can even die in the next second. Qin Mengli said, Don't worry. I will send a high-level revered martial artist to accompany you out. I will also introduce the White Cloud City's young lord to him, so that he can't touch you. You also know that I'm the number 3 figure in Qin City. If I officially issue an ultimatum, the White Cloud City's young lord won't dare to disobey. Even if their relationship with us isn't really that good. Yang Dingtian became silent. He knew that this was a test. If he continued to linger and not leave, then he would be seen as having ulterior motives and having designs on Qin Mingli. Then only death would await him. If he really left, then all his previous efforts would be in vain. Moreover, would Qin Mingli really protect him? It was hard to say. She wouldn't care about the life and death of a passerby. Therefore, everything that was placed in front of Yang Dingtian seemed to be a dead end. Either way he would die. Either way he would die. Why, you can't bear to leave, Qin Mingli said coldly. Yang Dingtian smiled bitterly. He then bowed and said, Madam, I'll take my leave. Then he turned around and left. Just like that he kept walking. He didn't walk resolutely, but he didn't hesitate. Qin Mingli continued to stare at Yang Dingtian's back until Yang Dingtian was far away and out of her sight. Then she suddenly said, Stop. Yang Dingtian stopped. Shen Lang, why are you smiling bitterly? Qin Mingli asked. Yang Dingtian said, I know that Madam doesn't really intend to protect me. Therefore if I walk out, it's almost a dead end. Qin Mingli said, Why, you think that I can't protect you? Yang Dingtian said, It's not that you can't, but you'll have to pay a certain price. At least, it's not something that can be done with a verbal ultimatum. After all, White Cloud City's young Lord Yi isn't a rational person. Qin Mingli was silent for a moment. Then she said, It's easy if you want me to completely protect you. You just have to promise me one thing. Please say it. Yang Dingtian said, Unless it's something that I can't do. Qin Mingli said, Don't worry, Qin Mingli. I'm not so cheap as to beg a man. I just want you to tell me the truth. Yang Dingtian asked, What truth? Qin Mingli said, You refuse to have a further relationship with me. Is it really because you're pure? Yang Dingtian was silent. Qin Mingli said coldly, Answer me. Yang Dingtian said, If I tell you the truth, will Madam promise not to kill me? Qin Mingli sneered and said, I promise not to kill you. Moreover, I'll really protect you. Yang Dingtian said, In this world, there might be pure and innocent women, but there are very few men. Men might be very affectionate, but they will separate their feelings from their desires for fun. This is especially so for young men. Therefore, even if many men don't cheat in their hearts, it's very easy for their bodies to cheat. Qin Mingli sneered and said, That's right, this is the truth. Then let me ask you, can a normal man reject a woman of my level? No, he'll be like a moth darting into a flame. Yang Dingtian said. Qin Mingli said coldly, Then are you a normal man? I am, Yang Dingtian said. Qin Mingli said, Then that's strange. You rejected me righteously just now. What's the reason? Could it be that you have an ulterior motive? Yang Dingtian was silent for a moment and said, Madam, if I tell you the truth, you'll be very angry. But can you promise not to kill me? Qin Mingli said, I promise. Yang Dingtian shook his head and said, A woman's promise doesn't count most of the time. After I tell you, you promise to kill me. Qin Mingli's gaze was cold and said, That's right. A woman's promise doesn't count. However, you have to tell me, because if you don't tell me, I'll kill you right now. Yang Dingtian looked at Qin Mingli and said word by word, Because I despise you for being dirty. Once these words were said, it was like a whip that was covered with thorns, lashing Qin Mingli's body fiercely. At first it was numbness. Then it was a piercing pain, a bloody pain. Qin Mingli knew that she was promiscuous, and knew that she had a bad reputation. However, no one dared to say this in front of her. All the men would drool and worship her when they saw her. Therefore, she acted as if she didn't know this. Now Yang Dingtian had exposed a little bit of it. All the wounds from the past were dug up. The instant pain was indescribable with words. I despise you for being dirty. This sentence was too ruthless, too vicious, and too true. Qin Mingli was unable to breathe at first. Then endless anger, endless hatred, and endless sorrow followed. If it wasn't for that incident more than 10 years ago, she would still be a pure, flawless, and proud princess. It was that devil who destroyed her. He had destroyed his own body, destroyed his own soul, and destroyed his own life. In this life of a walking corpse, she gradually became numb. It was as if that wound was no longer there. But at this moment, Yang Dingtian's words tore open the wound and made it even bigger, causing blood to flow out like a fountain. After a long while, Qin Mengli gradually recovered from the pain in her heart. Then, endless anger and hatred surged up. The gaze she used to look at young Ding Tian was filled with absolute coldness and murderous intent. Chapter 216. Shenlang, you are right. A woman's promise doesn't count. Qin Mengli sneered and said word by word, you are right. Even if you say it, I will still kill you. Then, you are dead meat. Young Dingtian smiled bitterly and said, I know. Qin Mengli said coldly, then before you die, do you have any wishes? Young Dingtian instinctively looked at the plum blossom birthmark on Qin Mengli's waist. He opened his mouth as if he wanted to say something. However, he did not say it in the end. He shook his head and said, I don't have any wishes. Qin Mengli said, all right, then you can go to hell. After saying that, Qin Mengli stretched out her hand and was about to clap her hands to summon experts to chop off Yang Dingtian's head and pull out his tongue to vent the hatred in her heart. Yang Dingtian picked up a golden dagger from the table at the side. This dagger was very luxurious. It was forged from gold, and the handle was inlaid with precious stones. Qin Mengli stopped and sneered. Shenlang, are you trying to take me hostage? Yang Dingtian did not say anything. Instead, he looked around and found a bottle of something in a large pile of medicine bottles. This bottle is ice sealing soul attraction, right? It is an extremely expensive spice. After it is burned, it will turn into smoke. It is not poisonous and instead, it will make people enter a beautiful illusion. Yang Dingtian said slowly. However, before it is burned, it is extremely poisonous. Once it comes into contact with blood, you will die immediately, right? Yes. Qin Mengli sneered and said, are you trying to kill me with it? Come at me. Yang Dingtian shook his head. Then, he smeared the ice-sealing soul attraction's poison on the dagger and placed it on his neck. He said slowly, if you want to kill me, you don't have to trouble others. I will do it myself. Instantly, Qin Mengli was stunned. She was stunned by this sudden change. However, she sneered and said, Shenlang, don't play such tricks. It is useless. Yang Dingtian walked forward slowly and aimed at Qin Mengli's beautiful face. Suddenly, he gave her a hard slap. Slap! Qin Mengli was sent flying. Her beautiful face turned red and swollen, and blood flowed from the corner of her mouth. Instantly, Qin Mengli was completely stunned. Immediately after, she was enraged and shouted hoarsely, I'm going to tear you into pieces, tear you into pieces. No need, I'll do it myself. Yang Dingtian said indifferently. Then he slashed the poisoned dagger across his neck. Immediately, blood flowed out, and the color changed. The moment Yang Dingtian collapsed, he gazed at Qin Mengli with endless affection and longing. His voice trembled as he said gently, Sister Meng, you shouldn't degrade yourself like this. Take good care of yourself. Then he fell to the ground and stopped breathing. From slapping herself to committing suicide, everything happened too quickly. Qin Mengli did not react at all. Most importantly, the deep feelings and longing that Shenlang had for her before his death were so deep and real. And that big sister Meng seemed to have triggered a very, very distant memory. Who was he? Why was she so affectionate towards him? She seemed to remember this person, but she could not remember him clearly. While Qin Mengli was in a daze, Yang Dingtian had already fallen to the ground. The blood that flowed out from his wound was completely blue in color. Immediately, Qin Mengli shouted in shock. Someone quickly get the antidote for the ice-sealing soul attraction. However, she quickly found the antidote for the ice-sealing soul attraction herself. She poured it into Yang Dingtian's mouth and his wound. When Yang Dingtian woke up again, he had already left the underground golden palace and was lying on a soft bed. When he opened his eyes, a beautiful and pale face came into view. It was Qin Mengli. She was sitting on the edge of the bed. She looked haggard, and her beautiful eyes were bloodshot. Seeing that Yang Dingtian had woken up, her beautiful eyes became extremely complicated. Then, she hesitated about what tone she should use to speak. In the end, she said in a calm tone, You're awake? Now tell me, who are you? Why did you say those words to me in the end? Why did you look at me with such affectionate eyes? Of course, Yang Dingtian wouldn't die. This was because the poison on the dagger was called ice-sealing soul attraction. It was a unique poison that was extracted from the body of an ice-type demonic beast at the bottom of the sea. Once it entered the bloodstream, anyone would die immediately. Only Yang Dingtian's 9 Yangxian meridians were an exception. Furthermore, Qin Mengli had the antidote. Yang Dingtian had even seen the antidote placed in the transparent jade box. Yang Dingtian was taking a gamble. Back then, Qin Mengli was too determined to kill him. He had to put himself at death's door and fight to survive. Furthermore, only by doing so could he enter the depths of Qin Mengli's heart and become an important person. Only then could he enter the upper echelons of Qin City and obtain the other half of the Heaven and Earth Mystic Flame Map's secret. Now he had won the gamble by putting himself at death's door and fighting to survive. After waking up, Yang Dingtian didn't reveal a happy expression. Looking at Qin Mengli's beautiful face, his gaze became complicated. Then he sighed deeply. Qin Mengli stretched out her jade-like hand and gently stroked the wound on Yang Dingtian's neck. She asked, "Yang Dingtian, tell me why?" "Originally, I wanted to agree to your order and have intimate relations with you," Yang Dingtian said. "In fact, I was looking forward to it." Qin Mengli sneered and said, "Didn't you find me dirty? You despise me for being a loose woman?" Yang Dingtian nodded and said, "That's right. However, if it's just for show, such a woman is filled with fatal attraction." "Then why did you change your mind and reject me?" Qin Mengli asked. Yang Dingtian said, Because I discovered the plum blossom birthmark on the side of your waist." Qin Mengli said, "So what?" Yang Dingtian's face trembled and said, "Because I recognized you. I recognized you as my dream sister, the lover of my dreams who haunted my dreams, the woman who supported me until now, the woman I wanted to find my entire life. However, I never expected that the purest and kindest woman in my heart would become like this." Qin Mengli trembled violently when she heard this. Yang Dingtian's eyes were immersed in his memories and he said, "You might have forgotten that 20 years ago, I was only 9 years old. You had already grown up. You were bathing in the hot spring in Ice Valley. I accidentally saw you bathing. After that, you even released your dog to bite me. Since then, your appearance has always been imprinted in my mind. I have gradually forgotten your face. The only thing that left a deep impression was the plum blossom birthmark on the side of your waist." Qin Mengli recalled that when Shen Lang saw the plum blossom birthmark on her waist, his expression had indeed changed abruptly. Immediately after, she also immersed herself in her memories. She tried her best to recall and recall. After that, a boy appeared in her memories. His eyes were filled with curiosity, passion, ignorance and innocence. You are Ren Tianhan?" Qin Mengli said in shock. Yang Dingtian nodded. Then his face sank into bitterness. Yang Dingtian was certainly not Ren Tianhan. However, Ren Tianhan existed. His identity was the son of the master of Ice-Sealing Valley. As for whether Ren Tianhan had peeked at Qin Mengli bathing, no one knew. Qin Mengli had long forgotten about it. However, the hot spring in Ice-Sealing Valley was world famous. It was especially helpful for a woman's skin and beauty. Therefore, any woman who went to Ice-Sealing Valley would definitely soak in the warmth there. Qin Mengli was no exception. Qin Mengli's only memory of Ren Tianhan was that she and her brother Qin Wanqiu had saved his life from someone else's butcher's knife. At that time, a treasure had appeared in Ice-Sealing Valley. It was a 9th grade ice attribute mystic skill scroll. All the major forces in the world flocked over, including Dongfang Minmi and the young master of the Qin family, Qin Wanqiu. Qin Mengli had followed her brother to watch the fun. Dongfang Minmi only stayed for half a day before leaving. This was because he did not have much desire for this scroll. However, after Dongfang Minmi left, Ice-Sealing Valley was massacred. Everyone was killed. As for the 9th grade ice attribute mystic skill scroll, it had disappeared without a trace. Until now, it was still an unjust case. At that time, the young master, Ren Tianhan, was the only fish that escaped the net. He was brought out of Ice-Sealing Valley by a loyal servant. However, the enemy quickly caught up with them. Just before Dongfang Minmi made his move, Qin Wanqiu and Qin Mengli took the initiative to rescue the 9-year-old Ren Tianhan from the enemy's butcher's knife. One must know that Qin Mengli was still very kind and pure at that time. After that, Ren Tianhan followed the loyal servant and disappeared into the distance. In order to completely move Qin Mengli, Yang Dingtian communicated with his master in his mind. He asked his master to tell him everything about Qin Mengli. However, Dongfang Minmi and Qin Mengli did not have much interaction. After much consideration, he told her about this matter. Therefore, Yang Dingtian decided to impersonate Ren Tianhan to completely move Qin Mengli's heart. One must know that although Qin Mengli was promiscuous, it was because she had suffered a terrible injury more than 10 years ago. In the depths of her heart, she still yearned for pure love. However, what Ren Tianhan could give her was pure and flawless love. In fact, Yang Dingtian almost used death to act out this act. Therefore, there were no loopholes. Indeed, as Qin Mengli stared at Yang Dingtian's eyes, she felt that they were becoming more and more similar to the eyes of the little boy in her memory. Then her gaze gradually became gentle. She was intoxicated. She really lacked love. In the depths of her heart, she yearned for love. However, she, who had a bad reputation, used a terrifying amount of wealth and power. Moreover, she had been sinking into darkness. Therefore, she did not dare to hope for love, and did not believe in love. Now there was an absolutely pure and flawless love placed in front of her. She broke down in an instant and disintegrated. In the next second, she suddenly hugged Yang Dingtian in her arms. Then, her heart was filled with endless sweetness and numbness. It was as if a ray of sunlight suddenly shone into her black heart. The darkness and filth in her heart quickly disintegrated. Note: please give me a few monthly tickets. Chapter 217. Little boy, I never thought that you would be able to find me and return to my side. Qin Mengli was almost talking in her sleep. She was sobbing and her eyes were filled with tears. I am not, Yang Dingtian said resolutely. Ren Tianhan is already dead. I am Yang Dingtian. Qin Mengli looked at Yang Dingtian with her beautiful eyes. The people of Ice Peak Valley were not killed by our Qin clan. I know, Yang Dingtian said. Your Qin clan has fire attribute profound veins. It is useless for you to have ice attribute profound skill scrolls. Qin Mengli looked at him with her beautiful eyes and said, Then did you travel the world to take revenge? Did you get close to me to take revenge? Yang Dingtian's face instantly turned ugly. I'll say it one last time. I love you because you're the first woman's body I've ever seen. You saved my life. You're the only pillar of support for me to wander around this world without any goals. I do not want to say the same words again in the future, okay? I am sorry. Qin Mengli said gently. Don't be angry. It is my fault. I said the wrong thing. Qin Mengli recalled that day as she spoke. That day, Qin Mengli was only 16 years old. She was in her best years. Pure and romantic. Not as dirty and full of despair as she was now. At that time, when she saved this little boy from the butcher's knife, the boy's eyes were so bright. He looked at her with incomparable infatuation with tears. Instantly, she could not help but overlap the little boy's face with the man in front of her. Shenlang, if you want to take revenge, I can help you. Qin Mengli said gently. Brother dotes on me a lot. I can make half of the decisions in Qin City. Yang Dingtian shook his head and said, Ollie, I have never thought of taking revenge. No matter if you believe it or not, I have never thought of taking revenge. An ordinary man is innocent but guilty of possessing a treasure. Ice Peak Valley is too weak, and they have obtained such a treasure. They can't blame others for their own destruction. I will not waste my limited life on infinite hatred. I have more important things to do. Finding the truth behind the ancient annihilation, finding the ultimate truth of this world, and saving this world is the most meaningful thing. After Yang Dingtian finished speaking, Qin Mengli's beautiful eyes lit up. She said gently, Shenlang, you are really amazing. Following which, Qin Mengli raised her beautiful eyes and said in a delicate voice, However, is this the extent of your dream? Don't you want to accomplish something bigger? Yang Dingtian gently caressed Qin Mengli's face and said softly, I didn't have it initially, but I do now. What is it? Qin Mengli asked gently. Love you well, young Ding Tian said affectionately. Instantly, Qin Mengli's beautiful eyes seemed to be drunk. She pouted her lips slightly and waited for a kiss. In the next few days, Yang Dingtian and Qin Mengli were practically inseparable. The two of them were playing chess and go on the couch. Sometimes, he would play fight the landlord with Su Mei. That's right, Yang Dingtian had also created poker cards. During these few days, Yang Dingtian was living like an emperor in Qin Mengli's underground kingdom. Once, when Qin Mengli could not fall asleep, Yang Dingtian tried to tell her a story from Earth. From then on, it was out of control. Every day before going to bed, Yang Dingtian would tell her stories for at least 2 hours. From the modified strange stories from a strange story to the changed Qiong Yao, and then to the legend of the white snake. In the end, it was completely fixed on the fairy tale. This made Yang Dingtian very astonished. This promiscuous queen, Qin Mengli, actually loved fairy tales the most. Moreover, every time she listened to the fairy tale, her beautiful eyes would reveal a trace of childlike purity. It was also at this time that Yang Dingtian felt that she was more adorable. During this period, Qin Mengli had become more and more infatuated with Yang Dingtian, and more dependent on him. She had completely changed from a high and mighty queen to a little woman who had fallen in love. Her gaze had changed from lewd to pure and flawless. Her voice had changed from hoarse to delicate. Her dressing had become more and more conservative and delicate. She had become more and more radiant and unparalleled in her beauty. In just a few days, Yang Dingtian felt that she seemed to have become a few years younger. The dust and vicissitudes of life on her had almost completely disappeared. Yang Dingtian did not ask about anything related to the map of the heaven and earth mystic flame. He definitely could not ask about it. Once he did, it would immediately arouse suspicion. Then, all the love would instantly collapse and transform into endless hatred. Yang Dingtian had to show her his unreserved love. It was a love without any desires or covetousness. Time flew by quickly. Qin Mengli had to set off for the northwest Qin city, because it was less than half a month before the 50th birthday of her brother, the lord of Qin city, and the overlord of the northwest mainland Qin Wanshou. Originally, she should have set off a few days ago. However, at that time, she and Yang Dingtian were so deeply in love that they could not bear to part for even a second. Therefore, it was delayed again and again. On the other hand, her husband, the West Prefecture city lord, had come to urge her many times. Finally, she could not delay any longer. Therefore, Qin Mengli decided to set off tomorrow, and set off for the northwest Qin city. That night, after they had made love, Yang Dingtian and Qin Mengli snuggled up to each other and talked privately. Shenlang, after we return to Qin city, I will arrange for you to enter the highest level of Qin city, okay? Qin Mengli suddenly said gently, I will arrange for you to be beside Qin Huaiyu. In the future, after he leaves, you will be second only to him and above everyone else. Yang Dingtian shook his head directly and said, I am not interested. Then, Yang Dingtian appeared to be dispirited. The sensitive Qin Mengli immediately noticed her lover's low spirits. She quickly wrapped herself around him and said gently, Husband, is there something on your mind? Yang Dingtian said, There is something that I don't know if I should tell you. Just say it. What is there that you can't say to your darling? Qin Mengli said coquettishly, Do you love me, Ali? Yang Dingtian asked. Yes, of course I love you. Qin Mengli said coquettishly, Husband, if you ask me this again, I will be angry. I will definitely not be used to staying in the northwest Qin city. My dream is to find the ultimate truth of this world, and to love you well, and be with you forever. Yang Dingtian asked gently, Ali, are you willing to abandon everything and wander with me to the ends of the earth, and discover the truth of this world? Qin Mengli was stunned, and did not know how to answer him. To be honest, although she said that it was boring, and that she wanted to find excitement, but for her to give up this glory, splendor, wealth, and extravagance to wander the world with Yang Dingtian and experience hardships, she was truly unable to do it. You are unwilling, right? Yang Dingtian said bitterly. Qin Mingli's expression became even more awkward. Then she lay down with her back facing Yang Dingtian and said, Yang Dingtian, let's not talk about this first, okay? It is getting late. Let's sleep. Tomorrow morning, we will depart for the northwest Qin city. During this period of time, this was the first time Yang Dingtian and Qin Mingli parted on bad terms. The next day, Qin Mingli led thousands of cavalrymen and escorted dozens of large carriages out of the West Prefecture city. They were heading towards the northwest Qin city. It was unknown whether it was to compensate or to let Yang Dingtian have a taste of power, but Yang Dingtian, who was just a great mystic martial master, actually became the leader of this 1,000-man cavalryman. However, what was even more bizarre was that Yan Biaqin actually became the deputy leader of this cavalryman. However, his position was not arranged by Qin Mingli. It was actually arranged by the West Prefecture city lord, Qin Mingli's husband in name. On this day, Yang Dingtian finally met this legendary West Prefecture city lord. He was a middle-aged man with a valiant appearance. Regardless of whether he was the son-in-law of the northwest Qin city or the city lord of the West Prefecture city, he had to attend the Qin clan lord's 50th birthday celebration. However, Yang Dingtian only met this cuckold city lord in a hurry. This valiant city lord didn't even look at Yang Dingtian. He immediately entered the second magnificent carriage under the protection of the crowd. As for Yang Dingtian, as the leader of the cavalrymen, he had to put on an act and ride outside. All of a sudden, the West Prefecture city lord's large carriage pulled open a curtain and said a few words to Yan Biaqin before pulling the curtain back up. Immediately after, Yan Biaqin rode his horse to Yang Dingtian's side and rode side by side with Yan Biaqin. Commander Yan, is something the matter? Yang Dingtian asked with a frown. Where is Brother Shin from? Which clan are you from? Yan Biaqin asked. Yang Dingtian glanced at him indifferently and didn't conceal the hostility in his eyes. Commander Yan, I believe this has nothing to do with you. Yan Biaqin immediately smiled and said, That's right. This indeed has nothing to do with me. However, City Lord Yi asked me to pass on a few words to you. City Lord Yi? Yang Dingtian was slightly startled. Qin Mingli's husband was also surnamed Yi. He didn't know how he was related to the White Cloud City's young lord Yi Feng. Speak. Yang Dingtian said indifferently. He said that Madame Qin is merely playful. If someone doesn't know when to advance or retreat, he wouldn't even know how he died. Yan Biaqin said, Is this a threat? Yang Dingtian's eyes instantly shrank. Yan Biaqin smiled and said, I am only passing on the message. Yan Biaqin continued. However, I want to tell Brother Shin that there were indeed 2 men who were favored by Madame Qin. Therefore they had other thoughts. As a result, one of them was castrated and sent to the lowest brothel to be a male prostitute. Furthermore, the customers they received were the most boorish men. As for the other one, he was skinned alive. Yang Dingtian smiled and said, Thank you for telling me, Brother Yan. You're welcome. Yan Biaqin smiled and left on his horse. The 2 of them hated each other and didn't need to put on an act. They couldn't wait to leave as far as possible. For the next 2 days, nothing happened. Even though the West Prefecture's city lord had issued a death threat to Yang Dingtian through Yan Biaqin, he didn't do anything to Yang Dingtian during these 2 days. As for Qin Mingli, it was unknown if it was because her husband was by her side, or because she was under the watchful eyes of everyone, or because Yang Dingtian had forced her to declare her stance. As a result, she didn't allow Yang Dingtian to board her carriage. Even Yang Dingtian didn't approach her. As for Yang Dingtian, who was nominally the commander of 1,000 cavalrymen, everyone kept a respectful distance from him. During these 2 days, the group had traveled more than 600 miles. According to this speed, they would reach the northwest Qin city in about 6 to 7 days. They would still be able to make it in time for the Qin city lord's birthday celebration. After another 2 days, Yang Dingtian's group had caught up with another group. This group was also majestic and had a few hundred people. Furthermore, they were dressed in fresh clothes and were riding on vigorous horses. They were escorting dozens of large carriages and had a snow-white goshawk embroidered on their flag. It was truly a small world for enemies. This was the White Cloud Cities group. As the number 2 power in the Northwest continent, and the in-laws of the Northwest Qin City, the White Cloud City's city lord, Yi Wuqing, should have personally led a group to the Northwest Qin City to congratulate them. Chapter 218. Young Dingtian couldn't help but be overjoyed. He was still worried about not being able to understand the words on the Mystic Flame map. Now a girl from the Foxman race actually ran into his hands. No wonder when this girl just entered the room. There was an enchanting fragrance in the room. The magnetism of the Foxman race naturally carried an enchanting fragrance. This was Yang Dingtian's first time seeing a real half-human race. However, no matter what kind of half-human race they were, they basically wouldn't leave their own country to live, let alone step into human society. Why would this girl from the Foxman race appear here? At this moment, there was a sudden rush of footsteps from outside. There was also the sound of swords clashing. It's here. I smell the fragrance. It's here. Catch her. It was obvious that she had escaped, and there was a group of people outside who wanted to catch her. Hearing these voices, the girl from the Foxman race was instantly terrified. She struggled and wanted to escape. Brother, please let me go. I will definitely repay you. The girl from the Foxman race said tenderly. Instantly, her beautiful eyes fell into an incomparably gentle and enchanting radiance that could instantly hook one's soul. Young Dingtian was swayed by this seductive gaze. He couldn't help but loosen his grip slightly. Instantly, the girl quickly broke free and escaped. This girl from the Foxman race was born with the bewitching art. This girl was so young, but she was able to trick young Dingtian. Who knew how powerful this bewitching art would be when she grew up? The girl from the Foxman race didn't escape far. Young Dingtian instantly caught up and caught her in his hands. The girl from the Foxman race struggled with all her might. She wanted to bite young Dingtian, but it was to no avail. Bang! At this moment, young Dingtian's door was knocked open. The young lord of the White Cloud City, Yi Feng, rushed in with a group of people holding torches. Commander Shen, the one in your hands is my escaped slave. Why is she in your room? Yi Feng said coldly. Yang Dingtian sneered. She escaped here by herself. Oh, is that so? Yi Feng sneered. Why didn't she escape to another room? Why did she escape to your room? Yang Dingtian. Then you'll have to ask her. Yi Feng thought for a while. Originally, he wanted to take this opportunity to cause trouble for Yang Dingtian. But in the end, he found that the reason wasn't sufficient. After a fierce glare, he suddenly waved his hand. Morongsher, who was beside him, stepped forward and grabbed the Foxman tribe girl from Yang Dingtian's hand, as if he was grabbing a chicken. Big brother, save me, save me. The girl from the Foxman race shouted at Yang Dingtian. This bad guy wanted to rape me, so I ran away. Quickly save me, quickly save me. As soon as he said this, Yang Dingtian's expression changed. Yi Feng, you bastard. Although this little girl from the Foxman race is peerlessly beautiful, she doesn't seem to be more than 11 or 12 years old. He actually wants to do such a beastly thing to her. Young Lord Yi, isn't it inappropriate for you to do this? Yang Dingtian said coldly. Among the 10 rules of the Tiando League, one of them is that all members of the Tiando League are not allowed to have any association with the half-human race. This association includes making friends, killing, capturing, and so on. You must know that in the Tiando League, the taboo status of the half-human race is only second to the evil ways. Yi Feng's expression changed slightly, then he sneered. Shenlang, I know the rules of the Tiando League better than you, but I can only say one thing. Some things are best not known, and don't meddle too much. Otherwise, you won't even know how you died. Then, Yi Feng signaled Morongsher with his eyes. His eyes were filled with reluctance and cruelty. Morongsher nodded, and walked out with the little girl from the Foxman race. His other hand pulled out the sword at his waist. He wanted to kill. He wanted to kill this little girl from the Foxman race. Why do you want to go out and kill? Just do it here in front of Commander Shen. After killing, burn it. Yi Feng sneered. Then, he looked at Yang Dingtian and said, Commander Shen, there is no half-human race here. You must be seeing things. Morongsher suddenly pressed the little girl from the foxman race to kneel on the ground. Then he was about to slash down with his sword. They indeed wanted to destroy the evidence in front of young Dingtian. Reason told young Dingtian that he shouldn't meddle in this matter. Even though this little girl could teach him the language of the foxman race, which would be very useful to him, the situation was too dangerous. If he rashly interfered, his life would be in danger. At this moment, the little girl from the foxman race calmed down. She widened her beautiful eyes and looked at young Dingtian. Then, she closed her eyes and waited for her death. Swoosh! Morongsher suddenly slashed down with his sword. Wait! Yang Dingtian slashed out with his blade like lightning and blocked Morongsher's sword. He really couldn't watch a beautiful little life disappear in front of his eyes. She was at most 11 or 12 years old. If she died so miserably, Yang Dingtian would never forgive himself for the rest of his life. Young Lord Yi, let her go. Yang Dingtian said indifferently. No. Yi Feng sneered. Yang Dingtian struggled and hesitated for a long time. Then he clenched his teeth and said, I will use the 8th grade Devil Flame Saber art to exchange with you. Aren't you determined to obtain this 8th grade Mystic Skill Scroll? When these words were spoken, Yi Feng's complexion changed. His gaze changed greatly. It was very obvious that young Dingtian's proposal moved him. Yi Feng was really drooling over this Mystic Skill Scroll. However, after struggling and hesitating with all his might, Yi Feng still shook his head. Instead, he looked at young Dingtian and revealed a strange smile. Shun Lang, it's not impossible for you to obtain this little hoof of the foxman race, as long as you agree to one of my requests. Yi Feng said with a smile. Yang Dingtian's heart moved. He said, Tell me about it. Yi Feng said, As everyone knows, in every banquet of the Northwest Qin City, there will be a martial arts competition. In the martial arts competition, both sides' martial arts cannot be too high or too low. I will soon become the son-in-law of the Qin City. In order to liven things up for father-in-law, I will personally participate in this martial arts competition to show my filial piety. However, the opponent for this martial arts competition is too difficult to choose. Too high of a status is not good, because it is hard to avoid accidents in a martial arts competition. It is very inappropriate for a person of high status to lose their life in a banquet. However, too low of a status is even more unacceptable. It would make the martial arts competition seem to have no class. Therefore, I picked here and there and couldn't find a suitable opponent. Then, Yi Feng looked at Yang Dingtian and said with a smile, You, Commander Shen, happen to be a suitable opponent for the martial arts competition. You have a high status as Mrs. Qin's lover, so your status is high enough. However, this status cannot be exposed. Your actual status is just a wild martial artist. Even if you were to die, no one would care. As the opponent for the martial blood longevity competition, you are the best. How about it? Yi Feng smiled and said, As long as you are willing to be my opponent for the martial arts competition, I will make the decision to give this little girl of the foxman race to you. How about it? Yang Dingtian's eyes instantly shrunk. Someone wanted to kill him. However, it was definitely not this Yi Feng in front of him. That's right. Yi Feng hated him to the bones and couldn't wait to kill him. However, Yi Feng definitely didn't have the motive to kill him. Not to mention, Yi Feng had already rejected Jiang Yi's offer to hand over the 8th grade Devil Flame Saber art. This could only prove one thing. Someone had offered a higher price than the 8th grade Devil Flame Saber art in exchange for his life. This person was either the West Prefecture City Lord or Yin Biaqin. These two people had the motive and reason to kill Yang Dingtian. Furthermore, only these two people were able to offer a higher price than the 8th grade Devil Flame Saber art. The West Prefecture City Lord, Yi Wuzheng, had always turned a blind eye to Qin Mengli's indecent private life. He didn't want to interfere and couldn't do anything about it. However, if Qin Mengli really had feelings for a man, and really wanted to be with that man for the rest of her life, then it would be a fatal threat to Yi Wuzheng. Yin Biaqin. Yang Dingtian didn't know who this charming man was, or why he was so determined to obtain Qin Mengli. However, It was obvious that it wasn't because of feelings. He definitely had other motives. How about it? Is it so difficult to make a choice? Yifeng sneered. Yang Dingtian immediately fell into a struggle. Don't agree to it. Suddenly, Su Mei's voice echoed from afar. The delicate and charming Su Mei hurriedly walked over and pulled Yang Dingtian to a corner. She whispered, "Don't agree to it. They are trying to take your life." Yang Dingtian nodded and said, "I know. Since you guys are going to save this little girl of the Foxman race, I don't have to bother about it." Su Mei shook her head and said, "No, we can't save her. The half-human race is a taboo in the Tiando League. Did you see those completely sealed carriages in the White Cloud City? Those carriages are filled with slaves of the Foxman race. They were offered to Lord Qin and young Lord Bai Yi Wucheng. Therefore, Madam can't do anything about this matter, and can only act as if she didn't see anything." It was this Yifeng who had an evil heart, and wanted to find a young girl of the Foxman race to serve him. Otherwise, no one would know about this matter, even after he was locked in the secret chamber in Qin City. Yang Dingtian stared at Su Mei and said, "In other words, I can only look on helplessly as this little girl of the Foxman race is killed and burned." "That's right," Su Mei said. "This is also Madam's order." Yang Dingtian shook his head and said, "No, I can't do it. I can't look on helplessly as a beautiful little life disappears before my eyes. My heart isn't that cold. I have been to the Dongli grassland. I am filled with emotions towards the scenery and the lives there." Once these words were said, Su Mei was instantly astonished. The Dongli grassland was the place where the half-human race lived. It was considered a taboo to the people of this world. Very few people had been there before. Of course, Yang Dingtian hadn't been there before. He just had an idea and added this sentence. Then he had a plan in his heart. A plan to obtain the other half of the map of the Heaven and Earth Mystic Flame. Adding this sentence was very important to the plan. Furthermore, when Yifeng mentioned the martial arts competition, Yang Dingtian thought of a plan to obtain the other half of the map of the Mystic Flame. And Yifeng's so-called martial arts competition was a crucial part of this plan. Then, Yang Dingtian directly nodded at Yifeng and said, "I promise you, I will be your opponent in the martial arts competition at the birthday banquet." Chapter 219. "You're crazy," Su Mei shrieked. "Yifeng is a 9-star martial profound expert. You'll die if you compete with him." Yang Dingtian resolutely said, "I've already decided." That's right, Yang Dingtian has decided. Originally, he couldn't bear to see this beautiful little life wither away. Furthermore, ever since the plan to obtain the Mystic Flames map took shape, this competition also became a part of the plan. Furthermore, it's a very important part. It's completely indispensable. A 9-star martial profound expert is 1 stage and 14 levels higher than Yang Dingtian. He's definitely the most powerful and troublesome enemy that Yang Dingtian has ever faced. However, if Yang Dingtian also breaks through to the martial profound level, in addition to the 8th grade Devil Flame Saber art, Yang Dingtian still has some confidence in defeating Yifeng. This battle is completely different from the battle against Qin Xiaobai. When he fought against Qin Xiaobai, Yang Dingtian didn't have a bit of certainty, a bit of confidence. He was completely using the belief that he would definitely die. However, the current Yang Dingtian is different. As long as he breaks through to the martial profound level, even if Yifeng is 10 levels higher than him, even if he can't use his youngling sword, even if he can't use his lightning attribute profound skill, Yang Dingtian still has the confidence to defeat Yifeng. Su Mei looked at Yang Dingtian and emotionally said, "Could it be that you don't even listen to Madam's orders?" Yang Dingtian looked into Su Mei's eyes and said, "Then please tell her that I love her very much. However, I can't agree with some of her principles and her character. I love her very much, but I won't change my life principles for her. Also, because she didn't reply to my questions, I originally planned to leave in 2 days. However, now I have a reason to stay." After speaking, Yang Dingtian directly stepped forward and hugged the Foxman race girl from Murongshir's sword. He said to Yifeng, "Now you can leave." Yifeng suddenly laughed and said, You really don't want to live. Enjoy it well, because these are the last few days of your life. You are not far from death. Enjoy this little beauty of the foxman race. Yang Dingtian said coldly. Not everyone is as filthy as you. It doesn't matter. Yifeng smiled. I won't bicker with someone who is about to die. After that, Yifeng left with his men. When he walked out of the door, he turned around and said, Shen Lang, you can enjoy this little fox, but it's best that you hide it well. If many people see it, you won't be able to explain yourself. Although the heavenly Dao Union is just a fig leaf, once it is completely removed, there will still be people who will complain about you. After Yifeng and the others left, the room fell into silence. Sume looked at Yang Dingtian with a complicated expression, not knowing what to say. Shen Lang, is it worth it? Sume said with some bitterness. Yang Dingtian shook his head and said, It's not worth it. I owe the foxman race my life. When I wandered to the depths of the Dongli grassland, I was ambushed by the jackal race. If it wasn't for the foxman race saving me, I would have died long ago. Sume said, I'm not talking about this matter. I'm talking about how much you care for madam. Is it worth it? Yang Dingtian was slightly startled and said, This isn't something you should be saying. Sume laughed at herself and said, Do you know? Madam will change lovers every year. Every man will stay by her side for at most half a month. After she abandons the men, they will receive a large sum of money and a large property. Then, to make up for it, she will betroth her personal maid to the man and let them form a complete family. No matter what she does as her personal maid, I have to accompany her. Yang Dingtian frowned and said, You don't have to explain these things in detail. I know. Of course, he didn't care about these things. However, he was acting as a man who was infatuated with Qin Mengli. Therefore, he had to act as if he cared. Therefore, madam will change her personal maid every year. Furthermore, every maid is pure. Sume said, I was born poor. Therefore, after becoming madam's personal maid this year, my life will change completely. I will leap into the upper class of this world. Therefore, I am more concerned about madam's new temporary partner than madam herself. This is because to madam, it is merely a temporary partner for half a month. However, to me it is a lifelong partner. Sume's beautiful eyes suddenly became blurred and said, Therefore, for this year, I have opened my eyes wide to choose the man I admire the most. This man must be smart and capable. However, he must not be too ambitious and greedy for power. He must know how to cherish women. Furthermore, he must be very interesting. It would be best if he could travel the world and have profound knowledge. Therefore, I chose you. You are better than the ideal partner I had imagined. Therefore, even though you are not madam's temporary partner, I have already taken the initiative to guide you. Furthermore, at that time, Yin Biaqin had already entered madam's vision. I was extremely afraid and worried. Yin Biaqin is truly too frightening. Coincidentally, you met with a crisis and were trapped in the auction house by Yifeng. Therefore, I finally made up my mind to take the risk and bring you to madam. I am choosing a husband for my lifetime. Sume had a self-mocking expression as she said, Your performance was completely out of my expectations. I did not expect that you would actually win in the competition with Yin Biaqin. To be honest, I almost did not have any hope at that time. However, I did not expect that you would actually win. Furthermore, I did not expect that madam would actually completely fall in love with you. She did not even have the chance to accompany you, because she wanted to monopolize you. She did not want to share you with anyone, including me. Therefore, this is considered as me being trapped in a cocoon of my own making. Sume finally smiled sorrowfully. Yang Dingtian sighed and said, I also did not wish for it to be like this. I can only tell you that 20 years ago, I had already met her. Furthermore, she had always been in my heart. That night, I discovered a plum blossom birthmark on her waist. Therefore, I recognized her. Once these words were spoken, Sume was instantly astonished as she said, No wonder, no wonder. Yang Dingtian then smiled and said, Don't worry. Even if I have to leave madam, I will definitely ask her to give you the freedom to choose a husband. I will ask her to give you a property, and allow you to choose a man who is worth entrusting your life to. Sume immediately smiled and said, "Then I really have to." Subsequently, Sume said, "Then I shall take my leave first. I still have to report the matters here to Madam." Yang Dingtian nodded. Sume left leisurely, leaving only Yang Dingtian and this little girl from the Foxman race in the room. This little girl widened her beautiful eyes and looked at Yang Dingtian. Her eyes were filled with gratitude, puzzlement, and a trace of fear. You have really been to the Dongli grassland?" the little girl asked. Yang Dingtian nodded and said, "If yes, it was something that happened 5 to 6 years ago. What did you go there for?" The little girl said, "You humans all treat that place as a taboo. Almost no one has ever gone there. I am just curious. I want to understand you all. I treat you all as the same kind." Yang Dingtian said. "Really?" The little girl from the Foxman race's beautiful eyes lit up. "You really treat us as the same kind? But the others treat us as wild beasts. They all look down on us and treat us as a different kind. They constantly encroach on our land and drove us to the edge of the world. They made us hundreds of thousands of races live in the barren Dongli grassland. That is because they are afraid that you all will become strong." Yang Dingtian said, "Because although your half-human race is not as intelligent as humans, your Xianvein talent is higher than humans. Furthermore, your lifespan is almost twice as long as humans. Once you all become strong, humans will be in danger of being exterminated. But fortunately, your half-human race is constantly fighting among yourselves, and there is no outstanding leader who can unify all the races under one banner. Then what should we do? Don't tell me that you humans will be enemies with our half-human race for generations to come and bully us for generations to come?" The girl from the Foxman race said, "There are so many of you humans, and you are so strong. There will be a day when we will be completely exterminated by you all." Yang Dingtian shook his head and said, "Not for the time being. Humans also do not have an absolute leader. The internal struggle is even more intense." "Don't you all have the Tiando League?" the girl from the Foxman race asked. Yang Dingtian said, "There is also no absolute leader in the Tiando League. Furthermore, the biggest enemy of the Tiando League is the evil ways. Before one of these two forces completely falls and is completely destroyed, humans will not wantonly wage war against your half-human race." The girl from the Foxman race stared at Yang Dingtian with her beautiful eyes for a long time and asked, "Big brother Yang Dingtian, if you become the leader of the humans, how will you deal with our half-human race?" Yang Dingtian thought for a while and said, "Support, intermarry, suppress." "Intermarry?" The girl from the Foxman race blushed and said, "Then how will you do it?" Yang Dingtian said, "Among the half-human race there are many very intelligent and kind races. For example, the Oxman race is diligent and kind. They have no ambition at all. Humans can definitely form an alliance with them. Your Foxman race is beautiful and charming. Although you are a little crafty, you are still kind and peaceful on the whole. Therefore, humans can intermarry with you. This way, the offspring of both sides will definitely be very intelligent and live a long life. Furthermore, their Xian veins will be very talented. As for the bloodthirsty wolf race and wolf race, they will be completely exterminated to prevent them from harming the world. The free and wild leopard race and tiger race will be dismembered. They will gradually forget that they are humans and completely turn into wild beasts. They will become free and wild creatures in this world. This way, in at most a few hundred years, there will no longer be any opposition between the half-human race and the humans. Both sides will completely merge into one and enjoy all the blessings of this world together." After Yang Dingtian finished speaking, the girl from the Foxman race's beautiful eyes immediately brightened. She muttered to herself, "Big brother, what you said is really good. Your thoughts and ideas are almost exactly the same as my father." Chapter 220. Currently, the flag of the Southwest continent was the Sky Phoenix Pavilion. Its previous pavilion master had mysteriously disappeared. During the Tiando League meeting, the Sky Phoenix Pavilion had completely followed Qin City's lead. Needless to say, Cloud Sky City had completely fallen into the Qin family's control. In addition, Qin City had used the Tiando League's name to rope in the Raging Flames Castle and other underground forces. Actually, Qin City's evil claws had already spread throughout the southwest and northwest continents. Young Dingtian had always treated northwest Qin City as his mortal enemy. However, in Qin Wanchou's eyes, Cloud Sky City was perhaps only a small part of his strategy. Moreover, Qin Wanchou had an extremely outstanding successor, Qin Huayu. In Yang Dingtian's heart, he had always treated northwest Qin City as a force of the pugilistic world. From today onwards, this view had to completely change. Perhaps Yinyang's school still treated itself as a force of the pugilistic world. However, northwest Qin City's development direction had already become a country. The southwest and northwest continents, the territory controlled by northwest Qin City, was already many times larger than any country on Earth. This was already a superpower. However, its ruling method was still relatively scattered. Shun Lang, I'm willing to find myself again. However, I really need time. Qin Mengli hugged Yang Dingtian and said gently, regarding your matter, Qin Huayu has already secretly sent someone to warn me. If I continue to live a shameless and extravagant life, they won't care. However, if I express that I want to completely break off my relationship with Yi Wuzheng and be with you, they will do their best to stop me. I understand. Yang Dingtian instantly smiled bitterly. Yang Dingtian knew that Qin Wanchou's greatest enemy was not Cloud Sky City, but Cloud Sky City. As the number 2 force of the Northwest Tiando League and the in-laws of Black Heaven sect, Cloud Sky City was currently the biggest obstacle for Northwest Qin City to unify the Northwest and Southwest continents. Before Cloud Sky City was completely settled, they could only maintain their fake relationship through marriage. Therefore, Qin Mengli could only be Yi Wuzheng's wife on the surface. Next, Qin Wanchou would marry his 4th daughter to Yi Feng, the foolish young city lord. Shun Lang, we can't rush this matter. We can only take it slow. Qin Mengli said gently. Although I love you, I'm also a member of the Qin family. Elder brother is the person who dotes on me the most in this world. Therefore, I have to consider the interests of the Qin family. Yang Dingtian slowly closed his eyes and sighed. I understand. I won't make things difficult for you. Qin Mengli kissed Yang Dingtian and said, all right, then leave the rest to me. You don't have to worry about anything. Yang Dingtian said solemnly, Ali, I won't make things difficult for you. I'm referring to the fact that I won't force you to separate from Yi Wuzheng, and I won't force you to wander around with me. Also, I won't kill that idiot Yi Feng during the competition. But don't even think about handing over that Foxman girl. No, Qin Mengli said. Is she so beautiful that you can't bear to part with her? She's only 12 years old. This has nothing to do with her beauty. Even if she's very ugly, I'll still have the same attitude. Yang Dingtian said coldly. You know me. This is what I hate the most about you. Your life is a life, but other people's lives aren't. That's a beautiful and innocent life. I won't allow her to die for no reason. I wander around the world. I'm not interested in power. I'm only interested in the ultimate secret of this world. My dream is to completely save this world. Therefore, I love any life. If you want me to hand over this girl, you can't do it. Unless you kill me. Yang Dingtian said resolutely. Instantly, Qin Mengli looked at Yang Dingtian quietly. She didn't know why, but when she saw Yang Dingtian's fiery and determined gaze, her heart was faintly intoxicated and worshipped. She also felt a sense of inferiority. All right, I'll do as you say. However, that Foxman girl can't stay by your side. Send her to me, and let her stay by my side. Qin Mengli said. All right. Yang Dingtian said. Even if you didn't mention it, I was planning to do so. However, there are times when I want to learn the Foxman language from her. Qin Mengli said. What's there to learn about the Foxman language? It's just a small half-human race. Yang Dingtian said. I'm very interested in any unknown knowledge. She'll be by my side. You can see her whenever you want. Qin Mengli said. As for the martial arts competition, leave it to me. Don't worry. I won't let you fall into danger. I won't let my lover get hurt. Yang Dingtian suddenly fell silent. He said, "In fact, I'm preparing for the martial arts competition." "What? Why?" Qin Mengli asked. "I love you and I want to protect you. I don't want to hide behind your back and drag out an ignoble existence," Yang Dingtian said. "Furthermore, I have full confidence that I can defeat Yi Feng." "Impossible. His cultivation level is much higher than yours," Qin Mengli said. "In short, I have confidence," Yang Dingtian said. "Furthermore, by agreeing to the martial arts competition with him, I'll be safer. You have to know that the person who wants to kill me isn't Yi Feng. It's your husband Yi Wuzheng. He can't do anything to you. But you can't do anything to him either. If he really wants to kill me, you can't stop him. If you think of a way to reject the martial arts competition, then he will think of other ways to kill me. It'll be even harder to guard against him." Qin Mengli instantly clenched her jade teeth. Her beautiful face turned icy cold. Yang Dingtian was right. Qin Mengli was the third most important person in Cloud Sky City. However, all her status came from Qin Wanchou's love. She had a shocking amount of wealth in her hands, but she had almost no power. She didn't have a territory, and didn't have an army that was completely loyal to her. In a real battle, she didn't have the upper hand in front of Yi Wuzheng. "After brother has settled Cloud Sky City, I'll definitely tear Yi Wuzheng into pieces," Qin Mengli said coldly. Then her gaze turned gentle again. She said, "I really hope that day will come soon. When that time comes, I can marry you legitimately." Yang Dingtian hugged Qin Mengli and remained silent. He didn't respond to her words. Qin Mengli said gently, "Husband, don't you look forward to marrying me?" "Of course I look forward to it. I dream of marrying you," Yang Dingtian said. "But you're ultimately different from me. You still love a life of riches, but I like to wander around." "Do you like womanizing?" Qin Mengli suddenly asked. Yang Dingtian shook his head and said, "Not at all. All these years, I haven't had many women. Then after we get married, you can wander around outside while I wait for you at home. You can come home once every 1 or 2 years, and stay at home for 1 or 2 months to accompany me. I'm not a woman who can't stand loneliness. In fact, even when I'm indulging myself, I only have one partner in a year. Moreover, the time I spend with him is no more than half a month. Most of the time, I'm alone," Qin Mengli said gently. Before she could finish speaking, she noticed that Yang Dingtian was frowning in displeasure. Qin Mengli chuckled and said gently, "Baby, you're jealous after hearing about my history." "All right, stop talking," Yang Dingtian said impatiently. All right. I was wrong in the past. I didn't keep myself pure for you before you appeared. In the future, I'll use my entire life to compensate you," Qin Mengli said sweetly. At this point, the Cold War between Yang Dingtian and Qin Mengli had completely ended. At night, Yang Dingtian saw Qin Mengli sleeping soundly in his arms. Her beautiful face was still filled with happiness and sweetness. However, his heart was in a mess. Yang Dingtian was disgusted and despised this woman in the beginning. However, he was now filled with pity and sympathy. Initially, he was completely using her. However, there were some changes now. He already had a plan to obtain the Mystic Flames map. Therefore, his attitude towards this woman had also changed. The best ending now was for him to leave as Shenlang after obtaining the Mystic Flames map. Nominally, he would continue to wander around. However, in reality, he would never return. This would make Qin Mengli think that her lover had died on the road. Although she would be sad, she might still be filled with happiness. At least in her heart, there was a man who loved her until his death. The next day, around 9 o'clock in the morning, the two teams left the Crimson Stone Fort and continued their journey to the northwest Qin city. In fact, many people saw Yang Dingtian coming out of Qin Mengli's room that morning. However, everyone pretended not to see it. When they left the Crimson Stone Fort, there was another team besides Qin Mengli and the two teams from White Cloud City. The owner of the Crimson Stone Fort, Qin Zhongtian, led a team of 300 people and followed them to Qin City. He was also going to attend the birthday banquet of the Qin clan's lord. A few days ago, Yang Dingtian, as the leader of the 1,000-man cavalry, had been riding on the horse and putting on an act. In the following days, he did not put on an act, and basically spent most of his time in Qin Mengli's horse carriage. Anyway, there would not be any risks along the way. Most of the time, he played chess with Qin Mengli or played cards. Young Dingtian also realized that Qin Mengli's needs in that aspect were actually very low. She was even more indifferent than most women. Instead, she liked the feeling of young Dingtian accompanying her and doting on her. This made young Dingtian slightly surprised. The more he interacted with her, the more he realized that Qin Mengli was actually more innocent. In the remaining time, young Dingtian was learning the Foxman race's language and writing from the young girl from the Foxman race, Ji. In the beginning, young Dingtian was the only one learning. Later on, Qin Mengli also joined in the fun. However, she stopped learning out of boredom after learning less than 100 words. She did not want to learn, but also pestered young Dingtian to stop him from learning. She would either act coquettishly or kiss him, or do other intimate things. Instead, it made the 12-year-old Ji blush. In the beginning, young Dingtian and Qin Mengli played Go and Chinese chess. However, in the end, they played Gamoka the most. This was out of young Dingtian's expectations. As compared to Go, Gamoka was too simple and was not much of a game. He originally thought that Qin Mengli was very scheming and would definitely love Go more. In fact, ever since they started playing Gamoku, Qin Mengli almost did not touch Go anymore. When there were only two of them, they would play Gamoku and Chinese chess. In the end, they did not even play Chinese chess. They were basically playing Gamoku. When Sume was around, the three of them would play Fight the Landlord. In the end, with the addition of Ji, the four of them started playing mahjong. Young Dingtian was really unwilling to play mahjong. However, every time he saw Ji, Ashina watching pitifully from the side, young Dingtian finally could not bear it and played mahjong. From then on, it got out of hand. Mahjong was indeed the king of entertainment. Ever since the four of them started to play mahjong, most of the entertainment in the carriage was mahjong. They didn't play Gamoku, Chinese chess, or Go. They didn't even touch Go. Once they started playing mahjong, time passed even faster. However, because of this, when young Dingtian occasionally met the West Prefecture city lord, Yi Wuzheng, the coldness in his eyes intensified. When Yi Feng saw young Dingtian, his gaze was as though he was looking at a dead man. Just like that, young Dingtian played mahjong and learned the Foxman race's language. They traveled during the day and rested at night. Not to mention encountering any danger, this large group did not even meet a small thief. Moreover, every time they passed by a city, they would receive sumptuous hospitality. When they left the next day, the group had increased by tens to hundreds of people. 5 days before Qin Wancho's 50th birthday, young Dingtian and the rest finally arrived at the northwest Qin city, the true core of the northwest mainland. The young lord of Qin city, Qin Huayu, personally led a group of people 50 miles outside the city to welcome them. Of course, when Qin Huayu came to welcome them, young Dingtian was not part of it. In fact, Qin Mengli had always insisted that he be by her side at all times. However, young Dingtian refused, indicating that he had no interest in power at all. Then, under Qin Huayu's lead, a group of close to 5,000 people entered Qin city in a grandiose manner. Chapter 221. Young Dingtian finally saw the legendary Northwest Qin city, the Northwest Qin city that was deeply engraved in his heart. Until now, young Dingtian had already seen the headquarters of many major factions. Yinyang School was built around the mountain. It was majestic and filled with antiquity. There was also a hint of transcendence. It had the vibe of a martial arts sect. Cloud Sky City was built on the peak of the mountain. It was majestic and imposing, filled with a fierce aura. The Temple of Blood was built within the mountain that was 10,000 meters tall. It was the most bizarre as it was a work of the gods. Regardless of whether it was Yinyang School, Cloud Sky City, or the Temple of Blood, they were big and strange, but they didn't have more than 20 to 30,000 people. However, the Northwest Qin city was completely different. The Northwest Qin city was like a complete city. In fact, the Northwest Qin city was indeed a city. This city was smaller than West Prefecture City, but it still had a few 100,000 people. Compared to West Prefecture City, the Northwest Qin city was more like a military fortress. The entire Qin city was divided into an inner city and an outer city. The outer city walls were dozens of meters tall and dozens of meters wide. The city walls were densely packed with soldiers and huge crossbows. In the air, there was a team of patrolling griffin riders. The entire Northwest Qin city could only be said to be grand and magnificent. It wasn't very luxurious. In fact, most of the buildings in the city were square. Most of them were made of gray bricks and black tiles. The eaves of the houses weren't exquisitely carved. Perhaps it was grand and magnificent, but it wasn't very gorgeous. The layout of the houses was also mostly square and symmetrical. The wide bluestone streets were straight and smooth. There were very few corners. This city was even a little rigid. However, it had to be said that this was the most grand headquarters city among the various factions. The other factions were either bigger villas or huge fortresses. Only the Northwest Qin city was a real city. From this, it could be seen where the Qin clan lord's ambition was. Perhaps he didn't want to be the clan lord of a sect, but the king of a country. At this moment, the Qin city was bustling with noise. Most of the people who came and went were people who came to celebrate the birthday. Of course, this grand occasion couldn't compare to Yinyang School's decennial worship ceremony. However, in comparison, Yinyang School was too high and mighty. Only members of the Tiando League were allowed to enter the mountain gate. Moreover, the head of a school could only bring a dozen or so people into the school to pay their respects. Most of the rest had to stay in Eastern Cloud State. On the other hand, the Northwest Qin city was not so unwelcoming. All forces, big and small, could come to celebrate the birthday. Moreover, each force could bring a large number of people with them. In any case, Qin city was huge. Everything could be arranged. Therefore, the number of people who came to congratulate Patriarch Qin on his 50th birthday was even more than the Yinyang School's decennial ceremony. Although there were many people, the order in the city was very orderly. Every few hundred meters, Yang Dingtian could see a team of black patrolling warriors. They were fully armed and looked cold and sharp. Yang Dingtian estimated that there were at least 20 to 30,000 warriors and knights in the Northwest Qin city alone. Instantly, Yang Dingtian understood that Cloud Sky City and the Northwest Qin city were not on the same level. The 3,000 Black Blood cavalry in the Black Blood Castle was already the largest armed force in Cloud Sky City, including the disciples of Cloud Sky City and the military forces of the other castles. The armed forces of Cloud Sky City definitely did not exceed 10,000 people. As for the Northwest Qin family, they had at least 50,000 military forces in Qin City alone. Of course, this was only the armed forces in Qin City. It did not include the 3,000 square miles of territory directly managed by the Qin family. Within the 1,000 square miles of Cloud Sky City's territory, most of the forces were vassal forces. The 3,000 square miles of Northwest Qin City's territory were all managed by the Qin family's direct descendants. In other words, all the forces within the 3,000 square miles of territory were directly under Qin City's command. The territories of vassal forces of Qin City far exceeded 10,000 square miles. Perhaps in terms of territory and armed forces, Qin City had already surpassed Yinyang School and the Black Heaven sect. At this moment, Yang Dingtian knew that it was impossible to defeat the Northwest Qin City in a head-on battle. Even 10 Cloud Sky cities would not be a match for Qin City if they were to attack one city at a time. The forces that Qin City could mobilize were at least 10 times more than Cloud Sky City. There was only one way to defeat Qin City, and that was to defeat the pillar of Qin City, Qin Wanqiu. Qin Wanqiu was a Grandmaster-level expert. He should be ranked in the top 3 among all the experts in the world. If Yang Dingtian wanted to defeat him, he would have to at least defeat Dongfang Bingling first. If Yang Dingtian won the martial arts contest for the position of city lord at the end of the year, he would have to clean up the internal affairs. Not only would he have to completely eliminate the opposing forces of the Yang family and the hidden forces of Qin City, but he also had to completely integrate the 1,000 square miles of Cloud Sky City's territory. He had to be more thorough than Shaman Wuxia and completely turn the vassal forces of the 1,000 square miles of territory into direct forces. He would turn the vassal forces like the Iron Sword sect into something like the Black Blood Castle, directly under the command of Cloud Sky City. Only in this way could he truly resist the annexation of Qin City. As for the counterattack, before Yang Dingtian's cultivation surpassed Qin Wanchou's, he could forget about it. Even after becoming the city lord of Cloud Sky City, Yang Dingtian's biggest task was to completely integrate the 1,000 square miles of territory of Cloud Sky City into a fist. After entering the inner city, Qin Mengli immediately went to pay her respects to the city lord, Qin Wanchou. As her lover, his identity was definitely not presentable. Therefore, if it wasn't for the martial arts contest with Yi Feng, Yang Dingtian wouldn't even have the right to meet Qin Wanchou from the beginning to the end. Therefore, after Qin Mengli left to pay her respects to the city lord, Qin Wanchou, Yang Dingtian stayed in Qin Mengli's courtyard and basically didn't come out. Qin Mengli's courtyard was about 400 to 500 mu and completely belonged to Qin Mengli alone. Yang Dingtian was absolutely safe here. Only in this courtyard were there more flowers and plants, making it look more like a manor. It could be considered one of the biggest manors in Qin City. In the entire courtyard, there were about 2,000 people. There were a few hundred maids, a few hundred warriors, and a few hundred servants. These people were completely loyal to Qin Mengli and completely belonged to her. When Yang Dingtian entered, these servants appeared to be respectful on the surface. However, their eyes were filled with disdain. This was especially true for some of the older managers, who were even less attentive to him. From today onwards, you will stay in this courtyard. An old man in embroidered clothes brought Yang Dingtian to a slightly remote courtyard. This courtyard was at the northwest corner of the entire courtyard. It was the place where Qin Mengli had arranged for her lovers. Every year, Qin Mengli would return to Qin City 2 to 3 times. In a year, she would spend half of her time in this courtyard. Therefore, these servants had met 7 to 8 of her lovers over the years. The longest time these lovers stayed in this courtyard was not more than 10 days. Once Qin Mengli was tired of them, her lovers would marry her maids directly. They would be given a house and property in Qin City, or West Prefecture City. Therefore, in the eyes of the old men in the courtyard, Qin Mengli's lovers were the same as her servants. This was because they would eventually marry their maids. These old men in the courtyard considered themselves to be Qin Mengli's close people. Qin Mengli's lovers were outsiders among the servants. Therefore, they would not take them seriously. In the face of the cold treatment from the servants in the courtyard, Yang Dingtian did not mind at all. Moreover, this courtyard was remote and quiet. It was just right for him to stay there. When the old butler left, he pretended to be indifferent and said, "During this period of time, there are many important guests who came to visit Madam. Therefore, before young Master Shen is summoned, it's best that you don't leave this courtyard to avoid embarrassing yourself." Those words were spoken in an extremely impolite manner, so much so that it could even be considered rude. Yang Dingtian did not mind. He smiled and said, "Okay." At night, when Qin Mengli returned to the courtyard, it was already 9 o'clock in the evening on Earth. It was obvious that she had accompanied her elder brother for dinner and had a long talk. When she saw that Yang Dingtian was staying in the most remote courtyard, Qin Mengli's face turned cold. She immediately ordered, "Everyone in the courtyard, gather in front of the main hall." Half an hour later, more than 2,000 people in the courtyard gathered in the square in front of the main hall. Qin Mengli stood on the stairs and held Yang Dingtian's hand. She shouted coldly, "Everyone kneel down." Instantly, more than 2,000 people knelt down in unison. Remember, from today onwards, this man beside me, Shen Lang, is the male owner of this courtyard. The only male owner. Qin Mengli said in a crisp voice, "I don't care what others say, but in this courtyard he is my husband." Instantly, everyone in the square was stunned. They looked at young Dingtian with astonishment. Didn't you hear? Qin Mengli said coldly. Yes. Everyone said in unison. Then why aren't you greeting your master? Qin Mengli said. Immediately, everyone kowtowed to young Dingtian and said, Servants greet master. Especially the old man who had spoken rudely to young Dingtian today. His face was filled with fear as he kowtowed to young Dingtian and bled. Everyone get up. Sorry for the trouble, young Dingtian said with a smile. Why aren't you thanking your male owner? Qin Mengli said and coldly glanced at the housekeeper who was kowtowing. Everyone stood up timidly and said in unison, Thank you, master. On the couch, Qin Mengli fed young Dingtian grapes and said gently, Darling Shen, my brother got angry at me today. What's wrong? Young Dingtian asked. In the past, Yi Wuzheng pretended to stay in my courtyard. Tonight, during the family banquet, I directly said that Yi Wuzheng did not need to come in anymore and asked him to stay elsewhere. From today onwards, he was not allowed to take a step into my courtyard. After my brother heard this, he got angry and wanted to send someone to kill you on the spot. Qin Mengli said, I said that if you died, I would also die in front of him. Then he smashed his wine cup. Yang Dingtian smiled bitterly and said, You are too impatient. I really can't wait for another day, Qin Mengli said softly. Originally, I wanted to tell my brother how amazing you are. I didn't expect that I would anger him and have no chance to say it. It's all right. Yang Dingtian hugged her tightly and said, Anyway, I don't care about how others look at me. After I defeat Yi Feng at your brother's birthday banquet, I will accompany you for a while more. After that, I will continue to wander around. Qin Mengli's beautiful eyes dimmed when she heard this. She said softly, Can't you not leave? I can't bear to be apart from you for even a day. Yang Dingtian smiled and said, If two people love each other for a long time, they won't be together day and night. As long as our hearts are together, even if we are thousands of miles apart, we will feel close at hand. Lang Jun. After hearing Yang Dingtian's words, Qin Mengli was instantly moved. She said softly, Tens of thousands of people came to celebrate my brother's 50th birthday. Therefore, I will be very busy during this period of time. I won't be able to accompany you all the time. It's all right. I will be practicing martial arts during these few days to prepare for the competition with that idiot Yi Feng. Yang Dingtian said. Can you really win? Qin Mengli asked worriedly. I can, Yang Dingtian said. From tomorrow onwards, I will live in the most remote place and cultivate in seclusion. Ali, do you know of a place where there is no one within a radius of tens of miles? Moreover, it is an absolutely secret place, and there is an underground secret room? Qin Mengli thought for a while and said softly, Yes, it is 100 miles away from the city. There is a lake there, and there is a secret room under the lake. I built it on a whim back then. It has never been used, and it is completely my private property. No one else knows about it. That's great, Yang Dingtian said. In the next few days, I will be cultivating in seclusion in that secret room to prepare for the competition with Yi Feng. Yes, don't worry, Qin Mengli said. I will. What materials, elixirs, or secret manuals do you need? As long as you give the order, as long as there is something in Qin City, no matter how precious or how much you need, I will send it to you. Although your woman's martial arts skills are not high, and she does not have much power, when it comes to wealth, there are not many people in the world who can compare to her. All of my wealth will also be yours. Yang Dingtian's heart softened. He said, I do need some things. I will give you a list later. You have to let the most reliable person arrange these things. Qin Mengli said softly, I will arrange it personally. Then she giggled and said, It's not bad to have a woman who is super rich, right? Yang Dingtian smiled and said, Yes, the feeling of living off a woman is not bad. When he said this, Qin Mengli felt a little embarrassed. This was because she knew that her man, Shen Lang, was not the least bit interested in power and wealth. Then, as if she was explaining deliberately, she said, Now that I think about it, my underground palace in West Province City was really boring. I used to like it very much, and always wanted to collect all the treasures in the world. But now I have no interest at all. I really have no interest in these treasures in the world. No matter how precious they are, in my eyes they are just like rubble. I believe that you will find something more meaningful, young Dingtian said. Qin Mengli giggled and said gently, being with you is the most meaningful thing. The next day, Qin Mengli went out early in the morning. Yang Dingtian also used the most secretive channel to move to a secret room under a remote and uninhabited lake 100 miles away. This lake was about a few hundred acres in size and was completely Qin Mengli's private property. There was not a single person within a radius of a few dozen miles. It was the best place for young Dingtian to cultivate in seclusion. After diving to the bottom of the lake, young Dingtian came to the secret room and started cultivating in seclusion. Although this secret room was underwater, the entrance was filled with water-repellent energy crystals. Therefore, even when the thick stone door of the secret room was opened, not a single bit of the lake water could enter. There were still 4 days before the birthday banquet competition. In order to completely defeat Yi Feng, young Dingtian had to break through to the martial mystic level. However, this was extremely difficult. According to normal cultivation, young Dingtian could at most break through 2 levels after learning the 3rd stage of the pig-slaying swordsmanship. However, if young Dingtian went through the 4th stage of the marrow cleansing and meridians cleansing, he might break through 2 levels. If he went through the 5th stage of the marrow cleansing and meridians cleansing, he might break through a little more, but it would definitely not exceed 3 levels. In this way, young Dingtian could at most break through to an 8-star Great Mystic Martial Master. He was still 2 levels away from the Martial Mystic level. According to normal cultivation, this gap of 2 levels would take at least half a year. An 8-star Great Mystic Martial Master was 1 level and 11 levels away from Yi Feng. Although it was not impossible to defeat him, young Dingtian wanted a great victory and not a Pyrrhic victory. Therefore, he had to break through to the martial mystic level in just 3 to 4 days. Other than the breakthrough brought by the pig-slaying swordsmanship, he really had to think of other ways to break through 2 levels. The outcome of this competition could be said to be extremely important. It was the most important part of Yang Dingtian's plan. Whether or not he could obtain the other half of the Heaven and Earth Mystic Flame map completely depended on the outcome of this competition. Chapter 222. Speaking of the map of the Heaven and Earth Mystic Flame, young Dingtian had been learning the Foxman race's language and language from the Foxman race's girl Jier. Compared to the mainstream language of this world, the Foxman race's language was more concise. As long as one mastered about 1,000 words, there would be no problem in communicating. One would be able to understand the relevant records of the Foxman race. As for the words on Yang Dingtian's half of the Mystic Flame map, there was even less of a problem. Therefore, Yang Dingtian could already understand the words on this half of the map. However, the words on the map were all unique phrases. Just by looking at these words, he could not understand what they meant. Furthermore, young Dingtian felt that these phrases did not seem to be names of places, but poems unique to the Foxman race. Furthermore, there were only half of each sentence. Young Dingtian could only understand the Foxman race's language and did not know much about poems. In addition, there were only half of each sentence in these poems, so he could not understand what they meant at all. If he wanted to understand these poems, he had to combine the 2 maps into a complete set. The entire poem also had to be combined into a complete set. Only then could he slowly analyze it. Therefore, no matter if it was the half of the map in Yang Dingtian's hand or the half of the map in Qin Huayu's hand, he could not get any information from looking at them alone. They really had to be combined together. It was not that young Dingtian had not tried before. He took out some of the words in the second half of the poem to test Jier. He asked her about some of the Foxman race's poems that had been passed down for a long time, but he did not get an answer. Therefore, the poems on this map should not be the traditional poems of the Foxman race, but the original work of the person who drew the map. In the large barrel, Yang Dingtian had already prepared the materials and medicine for the 4th level of meridian cleansing. The medicinal water in the barrel was half fiery red and half blue. This was a true combination of ice and fire. One half was ice and the other half was fire. It was completely filled with terrifying energy. If there was only one of them, then a person would be burned to ashes or frozen into a hard block if they jumped in. When the ice and cold energy were combined, they reached a balance. Therefore, one could achieve the result of body tempering and meridian cleansing. He took out a small bottle of holy water from his spatial ring and poured it into the marrow and meridian cleansing bath. This small bottle of holy water instantly melted into the medicinal liquid of ice and fire, disappearing without a trace. Young Dingtian heaved a long sigh of relief. It was fine as long as they were compatible, as long as they didn't reject each other. After doing all this, Yang Dingtian took off his clothes and directly jumped into the medicinal liquid. Immediately, an incomparably intense fiery energy covered his entire body. It was as if his entire body was burning in flames. That feeling instantly became extremely painful, making it impossible for him to make a sound. The burning didn't last long. At the same time, a bone-piercing cold energy entered his body. In an instant, Yang Dingtian's bones, muscles, blood, and meridians were all solidified. This terrifying cold was much more terrifying than the world of ice and snow. Fortunately, Yang Dingtian had the 9 Yang mystic meridians. This bone-chilling sensation was much better than the burning sensation earlier. If it was someone else who didn't have an expert to protect them, they would have instantly gone into shock from the cold. Moreover, no matter how cold it was, it couldn't be compared to the deepest part of the unfreezing water. Yang Dingtian didn't cry out in pain, but in his heart, Yang Dingtian had already begun to scream. This feeling was simply too painful. Compared to the burning and freezing of his qi, it was at least 10 times more painful. During the process of the profound energy cleansing the profound veins and qi, it was like using a knife to desperately scrape the inside, scraping off a layer of the sediment in the profound veins. This kind of pain was much more painful than having the flesh scraped off the surface of the body. It was completely no less painful than the ancient earth's punishment of being cut into pieces and flayed. Not even 10% of the process was completed. Yang Dingtian was already in so much pain that he was twitching. His vision turned black, and he was about to completely faint. This could really be called the extreme pain of the human body. Moreover, he must not faint. Once he fainted, he would be completely finished. His meridians would be destroyed, and his profound energy would explode. Yang Dingtian couldn't even let his master block the nerves in his brain to reduce the pain, because this kind of pain was very, very important. Only this kind of pain would allow Yang Dingtian to control the strength of his profound energy and the direction of his meridians cleansing. Otherwise, if the strength was slightly wrong, not only would it not wash away the sediment in the profound veins, it would directly sever the profound veins. Therefore, in a situation where there was no one to protect him, carrying out the marrow cleansing on his own was a 9 out of 10 chance of survival. Just like this, Yang Dingtian endured the extreme pain and carried out the 4th level of the marrow cleansing meridians inch by inch. However, even if he had an extremely strong willpower and endurance, when the marrow cleansing meridians reached 30%, he could no longer endure it. His body had already started to become numb. The extreme pain caused his nerves to feel a little sluggish. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian entered the most dangerous moment. After his nerves felt a little sluggish, he couldn't control the strength of his energy and could sever his profound veins at any time. Once they were severed or pierced, all the profound energy in his energy reserve would suddenly explode. At that time, there would only be one outcome. His body would explode, and he would die. If there was someone to protect him, such a strong profound energy could protect all the profound veins in the body of the marrow cleanser. Even if the marrow cleanser's strength made a mistake, there wouldn't be the danger of his body exploding and his meridians severing. Yang Dingtian clenched his teeth and desperately tried to maintain a clear mind and sharp senses. However, this was getting more and more difficult. Suddenly, the profound energy in Yang Dingtian's body trembled. In an instant, The strong profound energy fiercely tore apart the thin profound veins, and was about to tear them apart. Then the profound energy in his body was about to explode. If this happened, Yang Dingtian would instantly explode and die. At this most dangerous moment, a gentle energy suddenly gushed out from the medicinal liquid and directly drilled into the damaged area of his profound veins. After that, this sacred and gentle energy directly eliminated the violent profound energy that was about to explode out without a trace. The damaged profound veins also quickly became intact. This sacred water was indeed useful, and it was much more powerful than Yang Dingtian had imagined. The following marrow cleansing meridians was still incomparably painful. However, without the danger of his body exploding, Yang Dingtian's courage increased by a lot. He didn't have to control the strength of his profound energy, and it was almost like he was going on a rampage. The marrow cleansing meridians reached 40%, 50%, 80%, 90%. In the process, he had at least encountered the danger of his body exploding and dying 5 times. However, under the effect of the sacred water, they were all daunting but not dangerous. The last 10% of the process was especially slow. The profound energy in the cleansing meridians advanced millimeter by millimeter. Therefore, the last 10% of the marrow cleansing meridians took more time than the previous 90%. Time passed by minute, 91%, 92%, 93%, 99%, 100%. Yang Dingtian's body flashed, and all the profound energy instantly disappeared without a trace. Then it quickly condensed back into his qi. All the pain disappeared without a trace. His entire body became incomparably warm and comfortable. It was as if a spring breeze had brushed past, as if he was in a fairyland. His entire body was completely light as a feather, as if he was really going to fly. The 4th level of marrow cleansing meridians was completed perfectly. Looking at the medicinal liquid in the bucket again, it had completely changed color. It was no longer fiery red and dark blue, but had become turbid. Yang Dingtian stood up from the bucket. Suddenly, the surface of his body seemed to have formed a layer of scabs. The black color was the impurities in his body. The red color was the blood that had seeped out. Most of the sludge in his Xian meridians and qi had been forced out and condensed on the surface of his body. It was about a millimeter thick. Therefore, at this moment, Yang Dingtian looked especially dirty and had an unpleasant smell. With a slight shake, the layer of impurities on the surface of his body instantly shattered and fell into the wooden bucket, revealing Yang Dingtian's clean body. Compared to before, Yang Dingtian's body had become as clean as jade, like a freshly plucked egg. Of course, the scars were still there, but the skin on his body looked as if it had been reborn. And this deep-sea Xian robe was really amazing. The impurities and blood in Yang Dingtian's body could actually seep out and be directly discharged outside the deep-sea Xian robe. After finishing the 4th level of marrow cleansing, Yang Dingtian left the medicinal bucket and entered another wooden bucket. There was a rare and clear medicinal liquid in it that had recovery effects. Yang Dingtian thoroughly washed his body in it. After doing all this, Yang Dingtian poured a small bottle of fiery red liquid into the turbid medicinal bucket. After the liquid entered the turbid medicinal liquid, it suddenly burst into flames. In less than half a minute, all the turbid medicinal liquid and the entire jade bucket were turned into ashes. Although there was no harm, Yang Dingtian still did not leave any traces. Yang Dingtian left the secret room and swam out of the lake. At this time, the sky outside was already bright, and the sun was almost in the middle of the sky. The cleansing of the marrow and meridians of the 4th level took almost 30 hours. Of course, this was already very, very fast. Due to the effect of the sacred water, it was completely impossible for his body to explode. Therefore, Yang Dingtian's celestial qi could be said to be completely rampaging. If it was someone else, their speed would probably be several times slower. Yang Dingtian swam out of the water and went ashore. He walked more than 10 miles to the north, and there was a house there. Yang Dingtian walked into the house. Qin Mengli was waiting there with 4 deaf and blind strongmen. There was also a huge box on the ground, which contained the things that Yang Dingtian wanted. When she saw Yang Dingtian enter, Qin Mengli immediately pounced on him and said in a sweet voice, "Shun Lang, how's your cultivation?" Chapter 223. Yang Dingtian hugged her voluptuous body and said, "It went very smoothly. How long have you been waiting here?" "I came before dawn," Qin Mengli said in a sweet voice. "You weren't at home last night and I couldn't sleep for the entire night." Yang Dingtian tightened his arms around her waist. Qin Mengli said, "My husband, I have brought all the things you wanted. They are all in this big box." "Okay," Yang Dingtian replied. "Remember, if you can't do it, don't force yourself. It doesn't matter if you lose the martial arts competition, because you are already the greatest and most amazing man in Ali's heart." Qin Mengli said gently. Yang Dingtian's heart trembled slightly and said, I know that your cultivation method must be very special. If you encounter any danger, you must stop. You must know that you are not alone now. You have a woman who is always thinking about you." Qin Mengli continued. Yang Dingtian kissed her beautiful eyes and said gently, "I know. You are very busy. Go back first. We will meet again 3 days later." "Okay, baby. I will leave first." Qin Mengli left Yang Dingtian's arms reluctantly and turned to walk out of the house. Humans were not plants and could not be emotionless. Qin Mengli's obsession really made Yang Dingtian feel more and more guilty. More and more, taking a deep breath, Yang Dingtian grabbed the huge box on the ground with one hand. It was so heavy that it probably weighed more than a few thousand kilograms. However, in Yang Dingtian's hands, it did not seem to weigh much. Carrying the box, Yang Dingtian ran quickly and jumped into the lake. He swam to the bottom of the lake and entered the secret drainage room. When he opened the box, it was filled with things. Yang Dingtian took out pieces of sparkling and translucent crystal and laid them on the ground. The red crystal was the fire magnetic jade crystal, and the blue crystal was the ice magnetic jade crystal. Each piece was about the size of a palm. In terms of price, each piece was worth more than a few million gold coins. This was also the most expensive material in the world. Yang Dingtian had spread these crystals over 3 square meters on the ground, forming a yin-yang tai chi array. There were a total of 999 crystals. Therefore, it was impossible to calculate how many gold coins they were worth after conversion. In fact, the value of these things could no longer be calculated using gold coins. Every piece of this item was incomparably precious. Only extravagant martial artists would wear it on their bodies at all times. This way, they would be able to devour profound energy with half the effort. The function of the fire magnetic crystal and the ice magnetic crystal was to multiply the absorption of Xian Qi. The magnets on Earth absorbed metals, but this magnetic crystal stone was specialized in absorbing Xian Qi. When a great mystic martial master cultivator breathes in and out, the amount of Xian Qi they can absorb is around a dozen meters around their body. Wearing this kind of magnetic crystal stone, one could absorb about 20 feet of Xian Qi. Moreover, all the celestial qi that passed through the magnetic crystal would undergo a process of purification before entering the body. Although it was not completely pure profound qi, it was many times better than ordinary profound qi. Every piece of magnetic crystal stone could be used for about 3 days before losing its effect. Therefore, only the most extravagant direct disciples of the sect could use this kind of magnetic crystal stone at all times. Furthermore, they could only use one piece at a time. This was equivalent to spending millions of gold coins every day when he was cultivating. However, Yang Dingtian used a total of 999 pieces at once. To be honest, this was also because Qin Mengli was the richest person in the world. Otherwise, even if Yang Dingtian became the Cloud Heaven City Lord, he would not be able to use such extravagant means. Of course, in the world, only the Northwest Qin City could be so extravagant. This was because more than half of the production of this kind of crystal stone was in the hands of the Northwest Qin City. The Northwest Qin City's subordinate force, Autumn Water Island, was an incomparably huge mineral vein. They controlled a few % of the world's crystals and precious minerals. That was why the Northwest Qin city was so powerful and rich. Even so, Qin Huayu probably wouldn't be willing to spend such a large sum of money to use 999 magnetic crystals at once. There was no other way. There was not much time left. Young Dingtian had to use the fastest speed to break through to the martial mystic realm. Therefore, young Dingtian used such an extravagant method. After using 999 pieces of fire magnetic crystal stones and ice magnetic crystal stones to form a yin-yang tai chi formation on the ground. In this way, the range of profound qi that young Dingtian could engulf had expanded by more than 2,000 times. He could engulf all the profound qi within a 5-kilometer radius. Of course, this was far from the yin-yang 5 elements formation of the yin-yang festival. The yin-yang 5 elements formation of the Horror Mountain village could engulf all the profound qi within a few hundred miles. Moreover, it was completely pure profound qi. After setting up the yin-yang tai chi formation, young Dingtian took out another 5 demon cores from the box. Fire, ice, wind, metal, lightning. The first 4 types were all demon cores of 9th grade demonic beasts. Although the last electric type demon core was only 8th grade, its value was more than 10 times the value of the first 4 demon cores combined. Electric type demonic beasts were extremely rare. To be honest, only the richest person in the world, Qin Mengli, would have one. The value of a 9th grade demonic core was more than 10 million. Therefore, the value of this 8th grade electric type demon core was an astronomical figure. At this moment, Qin Mengli took it all out and handed it to young Dingtian. Such a deep friendship was really hard to let down. Placing the 5 demon cores on top of the yin-yang tai chi formation. This scene seemed somewhat familiar. That's right. Young Dingtian wanted to set up a knockoff of the yin-yang 5 elements formation. The yin-yang 5 elements formation from before made use of the yin-yang festival that only happened once every 300 years. It made use of the power of heaven and earth to allow young Dingtian to break through level 19. Of course, that kind of opportunity was too precious. There would not be a second time. After all, it only happened once every 300 years. It could even be said that it was a gift from heaven to young Dingtian. Therefore, this time, young Dingtian used an astronomical amount of money to set up this knockoff of the yin-yang 5 elements formation. Its power was not even 1/100th of the natural yin-yang 5 elements formation. Fortunately, this knockoff of the yin-yang 5 elements formation could engulf profound qi for a much longer time. Note: begging for support. Begging for monthly votes. Thank you everyone. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.